Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 153. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny Drumstick Eaton V.
Yeah. My wife bought these, like the drumsticks that you buy, the ice cream. She bought the...
Like rotisserie chicken?
No. Like the ice cream treats.
Oh, okay.
And she bought caramel ones, which are the best.
Now, is that caramel
on the inside?
Mixed in? Okay,
no,
so
it's like a tube of caramel inside the ice cream.
Not just at the bottom, not just
at the bottom.
Tip.
No, and I was a little surprised because it had been years since I'd had a drumstick, and she must have found them on sale. It's the only way she's going to buy that stuff. But when I got like just one or two bites into it, it caramel all the way at the top, and it was a nice thick thing of caramel. I was pretty impressed. And then she bought a box of drumsticks that had Butterfinger on the top. I'm a sucker for Butterfinger. So
yeah, you and Bart Simpson.
That's why I know she got them on sale. There's no way she.
Wow, living large here in Smashbox land.
You know,
those Patreon dollars are going a long way for us.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
I'm not familiar personally with ice cream. I know of none of what you're talking about. Little known fact.
I'm a sucker for ice cream. Two things: ice cream and chocolate chip cookies. Those are like my two. That's my kryptonite right
and
there.
Donuts and chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk I don't consider a dessert.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong.
Donuts.
Donuts are, but if I had to pick, like chocolate milk or not chocolate milk, ice cream, you got me. Ice cream and chocolate.
What
chip
about
cookies.
shakes and malts?
I like them, but I can live without them.
Okay. All right. Well, little known fact for those out there: Blue Moon is a delicious ice cream that is a Midwestern flavor. I learned, I think it was last year for the Masters Cup, a good friend of the show and just super amazing human in Bill Sherman out in California. We went over to this awesome little deli ice cream shop that he visits frequently, usually with his amazing wife, and instead he took me on a date there. And we had a conversation about Blue Moon ice cream because I was looking for it. They have all these amazing ice creams, and they don't have Blue Moon. And then that's when I found out it is a regional flavor. Yeah. It is very much a Midwestern flavor. And if you ever get a chance, because in an area that has Blue Moon, make sure you try it. It's very unique. A lot of people would compare it. I never really thought of it this way until someone else said it. It kind of does taste like Fruit Loops, or Fruit Loops.
Poop Loops.
It's delicious. So
I don't mind Fruit Loops. Have them maybe once every couple months.
Yep. In between donuts.
Yep. Lots of scrambled eggs lately, actually, but I don't like Blue Moon. I think it's disgusting, as everyone can probably tell in here, and I don't think it tastes like Fruit Loops.
Okay. I mean, that's just one comparison that I've heard. I think it's a unique flavor.
That's one way to put it.
So, speaking of delicious, I think we're going to have Dana Vici join us on the show tonight. He's going to give us the rundown from not only a few events stateside, but of course the European Open taking place overseas. And then shortly after Dana, right around 9:30 or in about 26 minutes or so, we're going to try and learn to be prompt here. We're going to have our amateur world champion on the men's side tonight. We're going to have AJ Carey join us. So looking forward to having AJ Carey. It was a week for me. AJ Risley and AJ Carey all in the same week. I was ready to swap one out for the other, and most people could guess that I liked them both. I love them both. But okay. All right, let's bring on Dana. See what he's got.
All right, we're gonna go. Hey, Dana.
Wow.
Yo.
Skipping the intro.
No intro today.
No intro.
Only because I didn't have it queued up. So.
All right, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Good. I'm about ready for a new intro, I think.
I'm down with that. We need to find what would you like for an intro? Like, what kind of intro? Do you want it more campy like we have now, or do you want something really cool and professional like
I want me sitting on a basket with stacks of cash just
well, I mean, if Ashley will give you cash, we can record it.
Yeah. Where would said cash come from?
Yeah.
Probably Ashley's bank account.
There you go.
Edith's college fund. Sorry. Awkward.
Yeah, maybe you should. Yeah.
Just go for it.
So you're saying you haven't won her college fund yet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the big one to come through. Ledgestone.
Okay. And I trust that's yeah.
Started.
All right, Dana. We had Am Worlds taking place. Obviously, as a huge event. We're going to talk to our winner, European Open. Was there other things going on in the country? Where are you going to start tonight?
There was. I'm going to go up to the purest state in the Midwest, Pure, Michigan, for the CCR Open in Lansing, Michigan. 123 total players. We saw some touring pros make their way up there, and one of them got a win. But open field, 30 players total. And some of the touring pros that made their way up there, Lance Brown, Calvin Heimberg, a.k.a. Young Vinny, James Conrad. That might have been it, but they went up there to battle the Michigan boys, and those Michigan guys like to hold it down in their home state, and they weren't able to this weekend. Touring pros came in, took the top 2 spots. That would be James Conrad finishing in first. He went 10-11, 10-25, 10-50. So he saved his best round for last. Ended up winning by 3 over Vinny, finishing in third. 979 rated Brendan Tetloff from Michigan. So fourth, Tim Barham, and then Lance Brown ended up in a tie for fifth. We saw him. He played another. He's creeping up towards that 1,000 rated mark. I'm going to click on his name, see if it updated. 996. So still not there, but I have no doubt that he will be joining the 1,000 rated player ranks very soon. On the women's side, only one FPO player, and that was Sandy Hendel. But yeah, James Conrad went up, shredded, did what touring pros do: come to your hometown,
take the money and leave.
Yeah, beat all the locals and leave.
Yep, and hit the road. So it looks like they're heading down to Des Moines for the Des Moines Challenge this coming weekend. So a lot of Midwest action going on, but that was really the only big A-tier event here in the States. And most of the action, and I'd say eyes of the disc golf world, were over in Nokia, Finland for the European Open.
Now, Dana, before real quickly, before you move over to there, did we see any of the Masters? I guess Lansing, obviously. Yeah, never mind. I answered my own question there. I was thinking about, were any of the Masters already in Michigan, gearing up? I know they're going to be in Grand Rapids for the Pro Masters Worlds here in the next few weeks. Thought some of them might be over. I think of a Johnny McRae, and I think of, but Cam Todd, I saw at Am Worlds. Him and Leslie were both hanging out, selling some of their great prints.
Johnny was there too.
Yeah, so no, it didn't get any of that draw. You said the touring pros.
Ask me another.
What's that?
I said good question though. Ask me another.
Okay, so we didn't see any of them. Okay.
Yeah, no, there was no touring Masters aged players up there. Don Smith might be hanging up in Michigan, but he's currently nursing an injury. Vinnie Miller, he's from Texas. He's up there playing, probably hanging out until Am Worlds, or not Am Worlds, but Master World Championships. He might see him down there in Ohio this weekend for the Hambrick. And yeah, that does look like the case. So he's going from Michigan to Hambrick and then back up for Masters Worlds. Vinny's probably going to be playing, I'm assuming, Grandmaster at the Master World Championship. So yeah, there was one player, but I imagine most of them are probably going to be rolling in normal times, the week of the event, or maybe even the weekend before, likely coming up from Ledgestone. So
okay.
But as I was saying, most of the eyes, if they weren't watching what was going on in the Quad Cities at Am Worlds, they're watching the other major that was taking place in Nokia, Finland, the European Open. 132 total open players. Kind of a small women's division, only a dozen. And I guess that's where we'll start. Absent from playing, Paige Pierce. She decided to stay stateside. I guess as she probably talked about last week, but she played and hung out in Tennessee at the DD event, and then went to Am Worlds and caddied for some junior players. Went to the Fly Mart and did her thing there, which is pretty cool to see. But that left the door wide open for none other than Katrina Allen to get herself a victory. Katrina's had kind of a slow start to the year. Definitely, I don't think she's playing up to her standards quite yet. Only a handful of wins this year, but she got the major victory, beating Val Jenkins, finished in second, tied with Henna Blumerus. They both were 7 throws off of Katrina's pace, and finishing in fourth was Evelina Salonen, and fifth, Terry, your friend Katka Badova. Paid out 5. First place looks to be 1,200. I don't know if that's euros or dollars, but not a bad little payday for a 12-person field. For the big show, the 132-person open division, that was a lot of fun to watch. I haven't caught up on all the videos yet, and yeah, Barsby.
He was on fire. From everything that I could see early on, he was hitting almost every putt, and he was, I mean, I know he clearly he could have made a few more. It would have helped him out a little bit, but we heard this at Pro Worlds, the doubles. The first round he played, the team he was playing with, which was, I forget who did he play with his team? I think it was Kat and Yuli.
Okay.
And they had said that he just hit from everywhere. I couldn't remember if it was him or it was German Page, because I was talking to him about the round, and they were saying he's just on fire. He just couldn't miss a putt no matter where he was. So that clearly has helped, and that's pushed into this next event at the European Open. Is he going to be he's too old to be calling up and coming star, but he's never really been one that you'd ever pick to win a major over our other guys. Is that going to change? Has he found something in his game?
I mean, it sounds like he's found his putting stroke and he's healthy. I know he over the past few years has had some injuries, but this year he's kind of been doing his own thing with the dude crew. Hasn't been chasing the tour around, but staying more regionally and doing a lot of promoting that way. But I'm looking at his stats for the weekend, and his inside the circle putting percentage was 87%. And keep in mind that with the Disc Golf World Tour, they're excluding tap-ins from the bullseye. So that likely, you say inside the circle, that likely brings the number down a little bit. But his 87% ranked him 41st on the weekend, which I'm looking at this and I don't.
That number is
that
so.
might be his overall.
I was going to say, I feel like that number then becomes so misleading because if I understand this correctly, you're excluding everything inside 2 meters or 1.5 meters? Is it 6 feet 6 inches, something like that, whatever it is, whether it's 4, 5, 6 feet, whatever it is. If you parked and put 18 shots, okay, back
17.
up, 17 shots inside the bullseye, your bullseye percentage hopefully is 100%, and you miss the one putt that you had from 32 feet, your inside the circle percentage would be 0. I mean, I know that's a very extreme situation, but that's my point. It would be 0. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I just feel like that number, and maybe only because you compare it to what we see on a U-disc or otherwise, I feel like that number then becomes incredibly misleading. On the flip side, doesn't it become misleading if you park every single hole and so you're 100% inside the circle, but you didn't really make any putts? It's just the way,
It's how you look at it. It's how you look at the stats. I mean, we can bend the stats either way.
But I feel like what you're doing is you're, in essence, negating and or punishing someone because they got it really close a whole bunch of times, if you're taking those out.
And I don't think it's punishing, because then there's the bullseye hit stat, which says how many, that you. Sure. But that's for part, But I mean, I'm thinking back to the very first La Mirada event, and Mike Williams, a Grandmaster player, his putting percentage was through the roof, but he was playing master style golf where, on the long course and just laying it, everything was pitching it up. And so I don't know, that felt kind of misleading. I think this kind of legitimizes the inside the circle stat because it's actual putts that you're making versus the putts that, even we're gonna make, inside the bullseye.
I get it. I understand. And again, it's just like it's all comes down to perspective. And as some people are very rightfully saying on the board, well, that's why you measure green hits or bullseyes. And then there's maybe other things. I just feel like you're negating that, or you're identifying this stat, but then in order to kind of legitimize it, you have to say, well, but there's these other stats that if we compare them and contrast them, that's how we can arrive at it. And to me, you say inside the circle putts, I'm assuming that's everything inside the circle.
Yeah, that's kind of,
it's all perspective.
Hey, step into the future, Terry. Because
he missed 2 putts. We can just say he missed 2 putts inside the circle.
Barsby?
Yes, on that first round.
Okay, if I'm looking up the stats,
I'm sorry,
make a bunch of clicks and log in and do whatever else I have to do. Sure.
No, or maybe I'm sorry. This is probably the 4th round. The 4th round, he missed 2 putts.
He 2-putted on hole 1 and then maybe on hole 9.
8 actually. But
they also have an inside the bullseye putt, so it tells you when you click on their name and look at the stats.
Yep.
But
that's what I'm looking at.
Which I guess if you're looking at these numbers, you're most likely looking at your stats person, so you want to. I don't know.
And I'll be the first to admit, the stats that are out there are so amazing. And I know Steve Dodge is a stats guy, and UDIS, thank God, are as amazing and as talented. And the World Tour has now established the metrics and all this other stuff. I'm not much of a stats guy, so that's why I say one perspective for me is when I see a number that says inside the circle, I just assume that means inside the circle, not you were too close inside the circle.
Sure. But anyways, final round, Barsby did miss 2 putts inside the circle.
But outside the bullseye.
He missed 2. Second round, he missed 1. And first round, when he came out and shot that smoking round, he was perfect inside the circle. So, but that wasn't good enough. It was not good enough.
Ain't going to do it.
The one and only Paul McBeth. If you haven't seen the video yet, the finish is pretty epic.
That guy's good.
Yeah, he's really good. But Barsby, he played some tremendous golf. His sidearm, I think his sidearm is really underrated. A lot of people talk about Big Germ, McBeth. Who else? I don't. You hear these sidearm names, and Craig Barsby, watch these videos, and he's throwing predominantly if he can throw a sidearm shot, he's throwing a sidearm shot. He's so good with the eagle, and he throws some of those high speed, like he throws a boss maybe forehand, and maybe some of those other very high speed Innova discs, and throws them really well. But definitely an underrated sidearm thrower, probably one of the top 3 or 4 sidearms in the game.
Which is funny because if I rewind to decade at this point, God, I'm getting old. When I think of seeing Barsby at the Memorial and meeting him in 05, 06, 07, when he was, I don't want to say in his glory days, but I mean he was certainly, I feel like, on the scene and very, very prevalent every single weekend. That's how I did think of him, as like, wow, this guy has a great sidearm. And I always thought that about him, and I felt that was one of his stronger suits against so many of the other players at that time. And maybe it wasn't even that great, but it was that much better than everyone else. Whatever the case was, that's what I thought of him for back then. And as you said, Dana, we've got these names that are now synonymous with great sidearms, but Barsby shows he can get it done. It's just we've all seen it, all 3 of us throughout these years. He's battled a lot of different injuries, usually focusing on his elbow and that area of his arm. So seemingly everything must be quite healed and feeling great.
Yeah, it's great to see because he's he's one of those fun faces that you like to see on the tour, and obviously fans like to see him come to their hometown and hang out and play and meet and do all that. And lucky for us, it looks like he's going to be at a couple of these Pro Tour events coming down the stretch. He signed up for Ledgestone and Green Mountain, it looks like. I don't see anything else aside from an event next year that he signed up for. So maybe he'll be at some more events, but get a chance to maybe see him get hot, get on SmashBoxxTV, or get some of that Disc Golf Pro Tour love going. But regardless, great showing from Barsby. It was really fun to watch, and looking at the scores and seeing him up 6 after 2 rounds. It's like, holy cow, is he gonna do it? And then just hanging on and clawing, keeping his way up there at the top and all the way to the very, very bitter end. But fun to watch and great to see. Just a great show overall. It's definitely what it's all about. Major disc golf, watching 2 guys, even more. Like Lazat ended up a few back behind them, but there's a lot of people in contention going to that final round, and to see good golf and a battle is just, it's awesome. Finishing in 3rd, Simon Lazat. Nate Doss with a really great showing. Finished in 4th. Eagle overcame a sub-1,000 rated first round to finish in 5th. So
it helps when you shoot course records, like he did the second round.
So I've heard.
I mean, he went, because I believe he was like even after the first round and then went 12 down. So
yeah, that definitely jump started him back towards his march towards the top, his little Eagle march. So, but yeah, fun event to follow and watch. Lots of good footage out there on Spin TV. They've got some chase card footage and obviously lead card footage from every round. I think I just heard Philo and Avery did commentary for the final FPO round. I'm pretty interested to hear how Philo does on the behind the mic. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna watch that just based on that now. I mean, I didn't really have any plans to watch that particular round, but with Philo behind the mic, I think that could be really fun and interesting. And I've never heard Philo even approach any sort of commentary, so I think it'll be definitely going to be interesting.
Philo's pretty well spoken guy.
He is.
I think he'll have done a good job, and the few reviews that I've seen sounded positive. So
good.
Yeah, which is exactly what's coming in off the board right now. Is people saying that
that's great.
That it was really good. So yeah, should be an awesome listen. And I think the board maybe kind of referenced it just now, but were there a couple of different combos and teams used in the throughout the coverage, Dana?
There was the big sexy, I think, was back together, back at it. Germ and Avery. I have not had a chance to catch all of all the rounds yet. I had a busy weekend, and then we had some guests here the past few days on top of that. So I haven't had a chance to really watch all the coverage.
Did you watch the live stuff? I was able to kind of tune in a little bit every morning for the last. They usually played the last 3 holes live, or 4 depending on when Avery came in, and to be able to watch that battle, those last few holes live, was really, really cool. Yeah,
I did watch the final few holes that last day, and some other random clips throughout the week. But Ashley can attest that I was hooting and hollering, and then, it's over, and then he hit a 50-footer. Yeah, that was really exciting disc golf to watch. So
yeah, it was one of the more exciting battles I've seen, at least coming down to the final hole in a couple of years. Just watching, just the drama with Barsby unfortunately going OB on his drive, and then hitting that 50 to 55 foot putt.
Yeah,
putting the pressure on Paul. And granted, it's only a 24 or 25 foot putt, but he misses it. He's OB. Or
the air balls it. But it was exciting to watch. And how about the crowd size, and then the crowd's like they were really into it. Like
Mhm.
it seemed like Barsby had a lot of crowd support. Seemed to kind of, they kind of picked up on that. And Macbeth is super, super, everyone loves him over there. He goes over and does lots of promotion and all that. So it was just, that was fun. And then like I saw Seppo Paju had a group of guys following him around with signs and all this stuff and cheering for all the shots like he's Kale in Minnesota. But it was just it seemed like a really fun atmosphere, and they were touting 3,400 plus on the final day. So we'll say 3,000 plus disc golf or people watching a final round of disc golf is it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I don't. You put a question out on Facebook asking if the United States will see something like that this year, and I think it's a resounding no. I don't think we'll see that in the next 2 to 3 years. A crowd that size to any event. I've never seen one that big in my life. A crowd.
What do you guys think? Portland World Final Nine was.
I wasn't there.
That one was massive.
It was, and it's really tough when you're talking 800 versus 600 versus 900, to actually be able to differentiate when you're walking around out there. If I had to guess, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500, maybe. It's really tough to say.
Yeah, I think it had that. I think there was at least 1,000. I think that's an easy bet, but probably not 2,000.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess judging by the comments on my Facebook thread, there's just too much to do, or there's nothing to do in Finland, so that's why.
What a horror!
That's why disc golf is so big there, because there's nothing to do, man.
No.
Like we have all these things to do here in the States and distractions. Like they don't have anything to do.
Yeah,
like that was
the internet hasn't gotten there. It's weird. There's no video games in Finland.
They don't have fidget spinners, I heard either.
Yeah, that's clearly it. No,
that's where I'm moving. I know that's a moneymaker. I'm going to move there with mine.
No, I think it has to do with a couple things. One, people said, they get one tournament a year, one where all these pros from around the world show up. So if you have any interest, you can go. I looked at the size. It looks like the Finland's about the size of Wisconsin and Illinois put together. And they have so many courses. It's clearly a popular sport there. It's in their culture now. And UC and all the other promoters there have done a phenomenal job of blowing that sport up in Finland. So it's not that they don't have anything to do. It's not that, they don't have like 1,000 other sports like football and baseball and basketball. They've got other sports. They've got soccer and hockey and ice skating and I mean, winter sports. But they are, it's a cold weather country. So, and they do enjoy getting out when they can. So something like this is a big draw for them. And I don't think it has to do with a lot of the dumb things that people said.
No, absolutely not. And my thoughts, I think a lot of it boils down to what they've built there, and it comes down to UC. Love him or hate him, he's really the main driving force there. Like there's so many things going on that they're doing for promoting disc golf and sustainable growth in disc golf, and I think it all starts and ends with him right there.
I totally agree. I think him. I'll say it's easier in Finland than it is in the United States, but it's not easy.
No.
It's like climbing Mount Everest versus climbing the second tallest mountain in the world. It's not an easy job that UC's pulling off. It might be a little easier than in the United States due to the size of our country and the huge amount of diversity that we have, that it's harder to appease so many more people than it is probably a smaller country like Finland. And if you can get a little bit of backing like UC has done and busted his ass doing it, my hat's off to him, especially in that country. Like, hopefully it spreads. Hopefully it's not just Finland. Let's see it move over to Sweden and over to all the other Northern European countries.
Those other places.
Yeah, all those long, skinny ones.
Dana, is it
all countries with nothing to do?
Yeah, all those countries with nothing to do.
Does it have?
I heard it's night there, 361 days a year.
What about facilities? And I don't know if someone can speak to the facility there. I've never been there, so obviously somebody else would have to. One of the criticisms or challenges we frequently have in disc golf is whether it's a private facility or a public facility, we're not built to accommodate. You go to an NFL game and there's porta potties out in the parking lot. Thank you. Wow. And there's bathrooms and there's places to vend, places to purchase things. There's places to buy food and drink and all of that stuff, and or bring your own party. When we go to some of these venues, even some of our biggest and most popular venues, we're usually quite constricted. We don't have that many options. I think of one place that's somewhere in the middle of all this. I think of a Fountain Hills. A Fountain Hills is accessible from a lot of different ways, even though it's just on the outskirts of Phoenix. But then there are a number of shops, ones that benefit very well from the tournament coming there for the weekend. And when they do set up a festival-like atmosphere and have food for sale and have plenty of bathrooms for people to use, and it's very spectator-friendly, I feel like Fountain Hills is an amazing venue. But when you go to some of these other places that are maybe a little bit more remote, that might be on private or public land, but don't necessarily have all of the extras that we're looking for or that maybe are needed to facilitate 3,000 people on site, I think that's one of our biggest challenges. And I'll be the first to say I feel like that's a major sticking point for the Pro Tour. For instance, is Steve Dodge wants that festival atmosphere. He wants kids there that may or may not be watching golf, but the parents are there and there's fun games to play and there's a lot of different things to do while you're there on site on property. And I think creating that atmosphere is going to be crucial to getting bigger crowds and galleries.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and part of all of that, finding the right venues and what Steve's trying to do is I think that here in the States, because it is a different culture, I think we need our players our pro players to go all in a little bit more and really push the Frisbee Festival and the events and go all out and help bring in help bring in all the local disc golfers. So instead of going and playing the other course that's open that weekend, they're coming to the event and they're coming to play these games again and meet the pros and do all these other things. Where I think Steve's on the right track, and we definitely looking forward to this next weekend, like Ledgestone, moving to Lake Eureka. One of the main reasons for that is it's a great park for an event like this. It's got the facilities, it's got the parking, it's got a lot of great things going for it. And hopefully we see a lot of people come out and watch.
Yeah, and it's very accessible. We all talk about how we don't want to see people go out and play boring golf and throwing just big, massive hyzers and not shot shaping and throwing through trees, and we definitely don't want to be on a golf course, some say, and all those other things. When we look at the reality, if we're concerned about people on site watching golf, it makes it easier when the fairways are a little bit more open, they're a little bit more giving. Look at what we experienced, the lead card and others experienced at Pro Worlds this year. Great facility for playing disc golf at both Fort Gordon and Jackson. However, navigating just a few hundred spectators through those tiny corridors, getting them in position, and then getting them all to stand down and be quiet, and not only refrain from disrupting the lead card, but then the 2 or 3 cards that are in front or behind it, there's a lot of challenges there. So it's a balancing act that we're going to have to continue to play and figure out what's going to be best, because what's best for cameras may not be what's best for the people on site versus the people that are watching at home. There's a different perspective with every one of these situations.
Yeah, and speaking, of venues, like looking forward to next year's Worlds at Smuggler's Notch.
Sure.
Players are going to get the best of both worlds. They're going to have a world-class wooded course and then a world-class
semi-open.
open style course and that open style course is definitely spectator friendly. It's got to be one of the most spectator friendly venues that I can think of off the top of my head, even better than Fountain Hills, because you can get up on over around the basin and Bootlegger's Basin and watch so many different holes and just and you're out of the way and you don't have to necessarily worry about moving around. So everybody plan their vacations for next September.
Well, those are all things to be talked about. You see clearly as he's designing and putting in new courses, and he talks about it and posts about it. And as the Pro Tour develops and decides where it's going to go in upcoming years, all of these things get factored in. And then we could maybe toss all of that out the window and say, all right, well, does it have signal? Can we do live broadcasting from there? That's an entirely different question that, has become all but demanded of, some of our large events. The small uproar there was over Worlds not being able to be live. People wanted all of these things, but they want signal there. So if you can't be on site, you can at least watch it live. So there's a lot of different components here, and I think people need to think just outside their own perspective and realize, yeah, people are thinking about this stuff. There's just not always an easy solution, especially when we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars being tossed around, not millions and millions like the U.S. Open that was just here in Wisconsin. And they set up, bathrooms that cost more, for 1 week that cost more than our entire dream disc golf course facility. And they set up temporary bathrooms for a week that, have a higher price tag than that. So keep it on the right scale, I guess, is part of it too. All right, Dana, before we get over to our Am Worlds champ, we'll talk to him about his experience and everything that took place in the Quad Cities, not far from where you live, just a few hours down the road. Anything that you want to finish us out on with reference to Am Worlds? You were there for the Fly Mart. You kind of took in a little bit of the sights and sounds, but anything you want to say about Am Worlds?
Just want to, after going to the Rumble for the past few years and seeing what they've built that event up to, and with a lot of the extra things going on, I was really excited for the Am Worlds players. And by all accounts, Chase, Jessica, Iron Lion, their staff, they pulled off a tremendous event, a lot of fun. They brought in Yeti, Jay and Des to help with some of the extracurricular stuff. They had a great working relationship with the visitors convention or whatever bureau. But it sounded like it was an A+ event all around. A lot of great courses. I wish when I played Am Worlds, the TD worked as hard as Chase and they did.
How many Am Worlds did you play?
I played one in 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Milwaukee. Oh, that's like right over there.
I heard that was a lot of fun.
That was a great one.
Oh,
best volunteers at.
Remember that one time I was on the lead card, shot like a 900 rated round.
Oh, flashbacks. Do you wake up in a cold sweat?
And then Paul Macbeth beat you.
And continues to.
And Greg Schwartz beat him.
Yes. Greg Schwartz.
Greg.
We love you.
Yep. In a playoff. 10 years ago. Terry, I heard you're still cashing checks from that.
Oh, God, yeah. It was just a pure moneymaker.
You just got another new car.
Yeah, just it's just such a money grab. Am scam, I think, is another one. Oh, that's another good term out there. Yeah, it was, gosh. I get residuals every time there's an Am Worlds because
It's like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Like everybody under
everyone
you.
that runs it, I make money off of every Am Worlds from here on out. There's people that would believe that, unfortunately. But
no,
yes.
Thank you for your hard work on that. Do you remember how many players played in the 2007 Am Worlds?
It was around, I always remembered right around 550. I think when it was all said and done, it was give or take 15 or 20 of that. But it was right around 550, and I think we had 14 countries is what I thought I recall the number being thrown out at the time, and millions of dollars generated for the as economic impact, and a lot of really good stuff. Am Worlds, Pro Worlds are all massive undertakings, and it's not something I'd want to do again, but large scale events can be really fun to run.
I did a lot of scoring that weekend.
Yeah, you did.
In a hotel room.
Yep. Too bad it was with Chuck Kennedy.
It was a
Hey-o.
and then that finals
You
day.
Chuck on the board in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Careful, don't say it too many times. And then I ran the cash out for everybody's funny money. I got to sit and do that the last day, so that was a lot of fun.
I did bicker at the PDGA. I said there was a conversation as we were just getting wrapped up. They were getting things wrapped up. Final everything awards was about to take place, and they said something about they were doing the payouts for I think they were PayPaling people for the Ace Pool. I said, what in the F is going on here? I said, in 2007, for the first time ever, it was decided upon, someone who I don't think works there anymore, decided upon that the Ace Pool was going to get paid out in funny money.
Yeah,
Which,
I aced.
Yeah, which I almost got beat up over that because people, again, with the scamming I was doing, people got super worked up over that. Somebody was ready to throw fists, actually, because they thought that was a personal decision, that I was taking their money out of their pocket. And the staff this weekend said they didn't recall that because they weren't there, and as long as they remember, it's been all. I was like, I'm glad the 1 year somebody decided to switch things up. It was the year I was running it, and that decision was not not part of mine.
Not run by you.
Oh yeah, that was that was not awesome.
I think I got a mini basket and then promptly sold it with my Ace money.
Well, there you go. It's a cash.
So I turned it into cash.
Disc golf rich.
That's all it is.
That's what you do, Dana.
Mm-hmm. Me and Ashley we're gonna work on that video, a new intro. But for me, that's all I've got tonight. We're gonna watch Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna catch CJ's interview later. Congratulations, CJ, and all the other Am Worlds winners. I'll let you guys talk about that a little bit later. And just again, big shout out to the Quad Cities and Iron Lion crew for putting on a great event out there.
So you're gonna watch Game of Thrones from last night or from 2 nights ago?
If you even say anything, I'll slap you.
Let me know how you feel when Jon Snow gets stabbed in the eye. Call me. All right, Dana. See you later.
I don't know what that means,
Bye.
but we're gonna get AJ on now, not CJ. AJ. I assume you're kidding.
Oh,
Okay.
maybe. Of course.
Well, I don't even know what you're referencing.
Kidding.
So
no, Game of Thrones people. I'm borrowing a friend's HBO Go account because so I can watch it the night of, because spoilers are a big deal. Like everybody talks about them.
I know.
And I want to watch it right as. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, you got to stay off social media and all that other stuff.
Do.
I know.
And
I
that's on me then. If I can't watch it, that's all on me. So.
All right, now we're going to dial up AJ Carey. I think Dana accidentally misspoke. It's AJ. We're going to have him join us here in just a few moments. We'll get his recap of the Worlds experience. He had something that he said during the award ceremony that I thought was really interesting. He talked about his experiences in the past about being in Worlds and to watch him play the way that he did this week. I was fortunate enough to see a couple of his rounds, record them. Those are all up on the Disc Golf Guy channel. One or two of the rounds, I believe, are probably up on the Prodigy Disc channel as well. Marty McFly of Prodigy Disc, him and I kind of, I'll say jockeyed. We just went back and forth and kind of split up a couple of the different divisions, MA1, FA1, and got the coverage out between the two of us. I think we got the last 4 or 5 rounds all covered for people to watch. So go out to those two channels if you want to consume them. So, without further ado, your amateur world champion in the MA1 division, welcoming to the show, AJ Carey.
How's it going, guys?
Good, good. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. Let me turn my volume down a little bit.
All right. Well, you sound really good on our end, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Has it fully sunk in? We're, what, 42, 70, 72 hours later or so? Has it sunk in?
Yeah, it's sunk in a little bit. It's going to get there. But.
Now, I saw that your ride home was lengthened a little bit. Did you guys had, what was it, some car troubles or what happened on your way all the way back to North Carolina?
Yeah, we were on our way back and we got into Nashville, and one of the bearings in our camper blew in one of the wheels, and we got stuck on the side of the road for a few hours.
No world
know,
champ love.
No.
None whatsoever.
And you're like, darn it, this is the reality.
I know, and we were about 3 hours out from home, and it was just like, come on, just got done with 12 hours of the drive, or give or take, and it's like we just can't get home, I guess.
All right, so I'll openly admit before this week, I don't think you and I had really crossed paths. So introduce yourself to the world. What should we know about you? How long you've been playing? Where do you play out of? What are some of your favorite courses? Those kinds of things.
All right, well, my name is AJ Carey, PDJ number 61770, out of Shelby, North Carolina. Shelby's a small town with relatively no disc golf, about an hour west of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so where I am locally, there's a few small courses in the area that I would call home. One being Gardner-Webb University, which I went to school at, ran the disc golf club there, and built a team to take to nationals for 3 years. And then there's a small course called South Mountain Christian Camp that I learned to play disc golf at. But other than that, I had to travel to play disc golf, so I got pretty used to driving an hour to Charlotte, very often, or driving to Spartanburg or Greenville, South Carolina. I usually had to get used to driving an hour in every direction to play disc golf.
Well, and I was going to say, without having courses, so to speak, right in your backyard, at least when you did have to make the drive, you were driving into a mecca. I mean, you have a lot of really good options, great players, great courses, all sorts of challenge levels. So going into Charlotte isn't the worst if you have to. It's not like you were driving an hour to the nearest horrible pitch and putt. Who were some of your influences? Did you have anyone kind of that you partnered up with or took you under your wing, or where were some of your influences?
My original influence, not a whole lot of people know him. I had this older man. His name was Del Solers. He's the one who kind of brought some disc golf into our area, and he was the recipient of the PDJ Golden Shovel a few years ago.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away the year they gave it to him. I think he was 74, 75 years old, somewhere around there. Very passionate about disc golf and teaching kids disc golf. And he kind of lit the fire underneath me, but that's who I would say is my original mentor. But I've had my butt kicked about by any of the pros in North Carolina. So I go to Charlotte and I see old hippie MJ shredded up all the time.
Yeah.
Barry Schultz is right there. So I have all these really good influences in the area that ever since I started playing tournament golf, that I could see these guys shredding the course, and so it gave me a good influence to look at. But beyond those two, there's so many solid golfers in the area that I see when I go play tournament golf. Like, you got Chris Dickerson from Tennessee. He always comes and takes all the cash. When I was playing advanced, or really kind of intermediate and moving into the advanced field, there's a kid named Colin Carter out of Raleigh, North Carolina. He's 1,000 rated. Recently got picked up by Innova. He kicked my butt for a long time. So there's the Carolinas, really the Southeast is so rich, full of disc golf that it's great.
So when you're let me back up. Tell us about your progression of golf when you were playing various divisions. I don't need every ratings update, every single quarter or anything. But I mean, what was your progression of golf? Did you pick it up quickly, and then how did you realize? Oh yeah, I'm a solid advanced player here, and now obviously right probably on the cusp of an open career.
Okay, well, let's see. I started playing seriously tournament golf in 2014. I think my first PJ round was in December of 13.
Okay.
Right at the new year. And so I started playing a lot, and I probably averaged 35 events every year since then.
So by
And
jumping
so
right
that
in,
helped. I was in college, and so the Carolinas, there's a tournament every weekend, and I was on the road almost every weekend. So
you jumped right in. I see. I have a similar story in that, when I got hooked on golf, college, and then every weekend in college, I was trying to go play golf as much as possible. And there's no better way to see the country, to see the area, to learn new styles, and also to check out the competition and taking all these courses, especially when you have so many great courses down there. What have the last year or two been like for you that put you in this position to be competitive at the M Worlds?
from this past year, I would say that for 2.5 years, I was able to throw well, I was able to putt well, but I don't think I was ever to really put together solid rounds. So I was always able to birdie, but I was always going to bogey. And that was the thing is, I would sometimes go for too much, or I would try to push myself to throw a little farther than what I probably should have. And so this year, I really decided that I'm gonna step it back. I'm gonna play boring golf. There's a lot of masters in where I live that are really good golfers, and I just kind of looked at them and it's like, why don't I just play a model more like them? I don't have to throw far to shoot well. I don't have to birdie every hole to shoot well, but I do have to minimize the amount of bogeys I take out there on the course. That's how you get good solid rounds in there. And I took a lot of time. I have baskets set up in my apartment, and I really focused on 15 footers, then the 20 footers. 25 footers. When I practice, I don't putt past 25 feet. There's no point in it for me. It's if I can hit everything within 25 feet, I feel good. And that's what I feel like I did during this Worlds. I think during the final 9 on hole 6, when I missed, when I 3-putted hole 6, that was the first time I 3-putted the entire tournament.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
not an ideal time for it, but yes, it was. My heart sunk a little. I'm like, oh no, what's going on here? Of course, I'm watching, and thinking, could it be nerves? Could it be heat, humidity? There's, I know a few holes earlier you were kind of, patting your hands and trying to find, whether it was rock or whatever it could be to make sure that you had good grip
and bark.
Yeah,
bark
exactly. I saw you kind of digging around looking for stuff. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this isn't over. I mean, this is a great battle and this is a good fight, but this isn't over. We still have some work to do. So speaking of 20, 25 footers, your final putt was, I think your term was as ugly as it could be. Is that how you said it, or tried to make it look ugly?
It was ugly and a little
Those were
sloppy,
your words, not mine, but it went in.
It was corner pocket.
Very much so. Right side corner pocket. How
nervous were you for that putt?
How nervous?
Because
this is for the win.
Well, do you want to set it up a little bit? Because
go ahead. You set it up.
AJ, you set it up.
Set up the final hole.
All right. So the final hole, I knew I had to lead by 1. Stepping up to that tee, I was guaranteed. I knew that Dylan was going to park the hole or be within range. Dylan's a great baller out there, and so he's gonna fight all the way until the end. So I knew he was gonna pick up a birdie there, and so I had to get as close as I could, and then I probably put it 15, 20 feet, 20 feet at max, but.
And Dylan made his. Dylan made his. He was out a few feet behind yours, and no doubt about it, he put it in. Which, dare I say, Barsby and Macbeth he he had the pressure on him, because if he misses that, then you coast in. But instead, he makes it and puts the pressure on you. You're stepping up to that. What's going through your head?
Well, I knew I had to put it in if I wanted to win. And the way I looked at it was, if I missed the putt, I give him the opportunity to win. And when you give Dylan an opportunity to win, he usually takes it. So any chance he has, he's a phenomenal player out there. So I knew that I didn't want to give him any chance whatsoever. I'll tell you that I hit a lot of long putts, but that one felt like the longest putt of the tournament.
Good, as it should. So it goes in. It just barely gets in that right side, as you said. When it finally came to rest, what was the very first thought? Or was it just a sigh of relief? What was the very first thought?
First thought was, I'm not going to win a Pro Worlds now.
Oh.
There's the curse. No, just
Right.
kidding. But no, I don't know. It was a feeling like I haven't felt before. Just kind of unbelievable. I had a lot of support from all my friends back home, and even all my friends there at the tournament. Everybody I played with through all the rounds, in particular like Dylan, Alec Anderson, Colin Poe. A lot of those guys are some of my real good friends, and so I had a lot of support going into there. And so, it felt like I finally finished the race. World 7.5 rounds. It's like a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was glad to be done. And really, when I made my peace when I got to that final 9, that regardless of the outcome, I was happy. I made my goal. So.
Well, a lot of people have commented, whether it's even on the YouTube or in other places, they said they almost didn't even understand the camaraderie and the friendship and the positivity that was taking place in the video on the final 9. And I felt like, no, I saw it a few rounds ago. This is how these guys are, and it was truly uplifting and refreshing to see it. And talk about, you just said, those are some of your friends. You've battled hard with these guys. Talk about what some of those feelings are when you're in it for the title, but you're playing with some of your best friends.
Well, the thing about it is I support those guys and I cheer them on as much as they cheer me on. And so I want to watch them succeed as much as they would want me to succeed and as much as I really want myself to succeed as well. So, the thing about it is, regardless of the outcome, I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to be happy for whoever would, if I would have finished second place in that tournament, I still would have been happy. I would have been happy for the person to win in front of me. So it just those guys are such a good group of guys. Like, I'm blessed to have them to call them my friends, and it was so much fun playing with them.
So now everyone wants to know on the board, where are they going to see you? Does this start a pro career? I think I made a joke about.
Are you going to try to qualify for USDGC? Are you going what does the next, we'll say,
pro tour stops, anything like that
look like for you?
Well, in what is it, like 2 weeks? Yeah, like probably 2 weeks. We're moving to Rock Hill, so I'll be there. I'll walk on.
You'll be at the USDGC.
I'll be at the USDGC.
But you might be working?
I may be working it, yeah.
So is that, for those that don't know, if you're working USDGC, does that mean you'll be working at Innova?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're going to be working for Innova. So has anyone else reached out for sponsorship?
Yeah, that closes that door.
That closes the door really quick.
I made the joke. I saw you post today that you're going to be working at Innova, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting. They used to give out sponsorships and such when you win AM Worlds. Now you just win a job there." But how long has that been in the works? And was that part of the application process?
I got my job before I went to Worlds.
Okay.
And so it just happened to fall in line, that I won the world championship and came back.
I don't think it's out of line if you go back tomorrow and be like, let's talk Rays. Let's talk.
Yeah.
I mean, I did just win Worlds. I mean, how many other world champs do they have there? So you're going to be.
I think.
I can hear that.
What's going to be?
You're watching, but
what's going to be your specialty over at Innova?
Well, if say you put in an order, I get that order, I go through the warehouse, get your stack of discs, and get them ready to ship out to you.
Okay. So you're going
But
to be
hopefully in the future, my overall career goal with working in the disc golf industry is I have a degree in sports education, so it's like coaching, and so I would like to see myself traveling the country teaching disc golf. I got a 4-year degree in kind of in that specialty, so I'd like to use it eventually, and
Okay.
I think down the line we'll see that.
Well, you've got a lot of great opportunities. We're friends. He came from this area, Kyle Dolzer, who works over there at Innova, and we see, he has these opportunities to go to things like trade shows. Him and Henry Childress and a lot of the other guys that are all amazing individuals over there. I think that's going to be, with your knowledge and your background and your education, it seems logical that you may, I don't want to say finagle, but you're going to probably find yourself wearing a couple of different hats over there. And it sounds like it'll be right up your alley, which is awesome.
Well, the wonderful thing about Innova is it's a very loving family, and so they very much support all their employees. They support me well, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. So if I was to say get an offer for a sponsorship, I'd gladly decline.
Yeah. Well,
it's not worth me leaving my job that I like for something that's not. I like the family that I'm at now.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And speaking of lockdown and family, you had a fiance that you championed with mixed doubles and finished well. Deanne, how you doing?
Good.
So both of you guys got to experience the AM Worlds this year together, and you guys won mixed doubles, correct? Back on Saturday.
Yep.
Well, we did.
Yep.
We came back from a 3-stroke deficit after our first round to win by 5 on Cam 2.
Wow, very
and
impressive.
If you want to see that course, that's the one that Prodigy videoed.
Yes. During your 5th round, I think, or your 4th round.
Which was your favorite course out there? Because I've heard great things about a lot of them, especially Camden 2. What was your favorite?
Absolutely Camden 2.
Okay.
And that reason being is because that's Southeast golf, in particular Carolina golf.
Sure.
I got to watch a lot of people struggle out there. And it's because if you can't throw a mid-range 300 feet straight, it's not a good course for you.
Sure.
No.
If you don't have touch, that's not a good course for you. And that's what I'm used to, and that's what I like. So, I played it pretty well.
Yeah, it was funny. I showed up when I ultimately filmed you for the first time this week. It was on Thursday afternoon, and you had struggled at Camden 1, which by many people's accounts would say it was a much easier course to score on, but you had found yourself scoring much better over at the Camden 2 course than at the relatively easier Camden 1 course. So it makes perfect sense that Cam 2 was ultimately. Did you have any input or thoughts about the final holes? Did they matter to you in terms of which holes they were or how they were routed or anything like that? Some people were being critical of saying, well, it seems like there's, a bunch of reachable, pitch and putts in the final 9. Did it matter to you?
Final 9? Yeah, but those are the people that didn't play it.
Yeah.
They didn't have to throw hole 2 with the water there.
Yep.
And, if you ever get to play that hole, you can get a beautiful shot, and it's going to roll away.
Uh-huh.
I fortunately got lucky on my upshot on Cam 2. Not on Cam 2, on the second hole of
Westlake,
the
yep.
final 9. That I was 6 inches from OB, and they were allowing relief off the rocks, so I got to move 12 feet from the water. Luckily was able to save a birdie there, but anybody that hasn't played out there, they don't understand. When it's windy out there, it's windy.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people... go ahead. Sorry.
No, what were you saying?
I was going to say, for a final 9, it's really tough because you want holes that spectators can be around, so it can't be really tight and wooded. You don't want the holes that are those in between where everybody's just going to par. So,
yeah.
And then there's no movement and it's boring. Unfortunately, unless you have some 600-foot holes to throw on, birdie holes are the way to go because you're going to see more drama, we'll say, with a bunch of birdie holes than with a bunch of 400-foot holes, which most people are going to probably just take threes on. So there's a real tough balancing act that people have to do, especially for a final 9.
Yeah, and the one thing about that final 9 is I was leading going into the first hole. And the first hole is not, it may look easy maybe on film for people to look at it, but it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to get. And so, you know, Dylan was able to come off of that birdie on that hole. I was not expecting that on that one. And then the next 2 holes, so hole 2 and 3 can really get you. 2's probably easier, but 3, that one's hard. You know, it plays very high 400 foot. Yes, it's downhill, but the landing zone there is very small when you actually throwing it from the tee pad. And if you go in the woods at all, guaranteed bogey.
Yeah, you're at least pitching one out, and as we saw with Dylan, he hung it too far wide to the right. Obviously, didn't find himself back inbounds at all. And you know, ultimately that was where there was a 2-stroke swing for you two, you know, between the two of you, because that hole came up and bit him, because it's a very challenging hole, and it's not like he threw horrible shots.
At that hole, you have to go. Where you get to drop it back in, the last point, like the point of exit, you're still throwing 350 feet. You know, highs are over the water the entire time if you want to get to the pin, and that pin is maybe 8 feet from the water.
Yeah, it's
so
it was great to see.
That was very hard, and it makes up once you get past hole 3. You would think that after that point, it's very easy.
Yeah,
besides, you know,
there was a little less danger, but you still have to go and execute. And someone had posted saying, you know, on YouTube talking about just that, the holes that were out there. And I said, personally, I'm a big fan of these holes because, as Johnny just said, I don't care. You have to birdie, and I don't care if the hole is 110 feet or 310 feet, and it seems easy. You still have to get up and down and get the birdie. Because if you're not, that's when you're going to fall behind, and it challenges all sorts of skill levels. And you know, we're used to, you know, people throwing far and whatever. I feel like I love seeing the shorter holes as things wrap up, because I feel like there's almost more pressure when you walk up a 220-foot hole, because you're thinking, no matter what, I have to birdie this or I'm going to lose the stroke.
Yeah, if you equate it to golf, where is there more pressure on a putt? A 15-foot putt to win or a 5-foot putt to win in golf? And when you're putting, it's the same way with disc golf. Where's there more pressure when you walk up to a hole that you know you have to get or you're going to lose a stroke?
As you said, you know, you knew Dylan was going to put himself in position. Now, what I thought was interesting, and I'm not sure if you watched the video that I had put out early this morning, both you and Dylan, when you watched, thanks to AJ Risley on the catch cam, both of your shots were not that far from going in on the final hole down at the basket, which we couldn't see at the tee, where we were all standing, where you guys were and where I was filming. But when I got my hands on the catch footage and you watched the final 4 shots come in, 2 of them, especially yours, was not far at all from grabbing metal or possibly going in. I was like, wow, I had no idea.
Have you watched the final 9? Did you go back and watch it?
I just spoiled it for you. Well, you win.
It's okay. Well, see, my goal there, that hole, you kind of have to give it an ace run if you want to get it close. The way it kind of has a blind drop off. So, you know, once I got up to that tee and out of the hands, I knew it was going to be close. But when Dylan stepped up, I knew he was trying to at least put it in. And you know, out of his hands, I was just crossing the fingers. I was like, please don't put it in. Please, please don't ace in my face.
It's funny that normally, I don't know how many times you have to actually have that thought go through your head, but that was a very legitimate time and place. Yeah, if there was going to be a heroic shot, that was going to be it.
Don't ace in my face. Yeah.
Yep.
So. Not necessarily. I mean, you're about to go to work and start a career and do what you're doing at Innova. pro tour and world tour and being on the road does not sound like it's a priority to you right now, full time.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll probably take the next year playing pro. For this whole year leading up, I've been playing like B and C and a few A tiers in pro, and like not a whole lot of full commitment. Playing just the big AM events. This upcoming year, I want to at least try to play something big. I'll play Worlds next year. I want to go up to Vermont. That looks like a lot of fun. I like Vermont.
Great courses.
Vermont in September sounds like a wonderful time of the year to be there.
I heard it was a little bit. Terry was complaining to me, crying every time I talked to him about how warm it was. Did any issue for you at all in the heat, being from North Carolina?
At the Quad Cities?
No. It was cooler there. It was a little. The humidity was about the same.
Okay.
The final day, I think we finally got a little reprieve when the clouds rolled in. Everyone's like, okay, this is almost tolerable. But a few of those days, it was flat out nasty out there. No? Yes? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, the first few days were not bad. And then it just stormed every night and every morning, and the humidity went through the roof, and it was pretty nasty. That last round though was quite bearable. It felt very nice.
Yeah.
It was very humid though, since the sun wasn't really out the entire time to dry it up. I was having a little bit of issues with grip during that final nine because it was so humid.
Yeah,
it wasn't hot, but it was humid.
Yeah, there's something about the World Championships, pro or am, that just brings out the heat and the humidity almost no matter where we are, year after year after year. It's what it does. Anyone else you'd like to thank? Any shout-outs you need to give? Sponsors that you've maybe recently acquired or you already had? Anything like that? We'd love to give you some time to do all that.
I'd like to thank my dad. He came out. He's a professional photographer, and any of the AMs out there may have seen him on the course. His name is Bob Carey, and he took thousands and thousands of pictures for all the divisions. So if you any of the people listening, if you played in the AM Worlds, check him out. Bob Carey. He's on Instagram and Facebook. And he probably has a picture of you somewhere.
Nice.
I'd like to thank him for that because he drove up there with us, supported. Got a little gig going with the PDGA, and he found his passion and did it with my and intermixed it with my passion, which is awesome. Would like to thank my fiance over here, who's kind of hiding.
Hey, she's a world champ too, so
yeah.
Oh yeah. She did everything during the mixed dubs. Don't worry, it was not me whatsoever. That's all her.
All right, good. So we'll see her on the pro circuits as well soon.
Hopefully.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank all my buddies back home. I guess back here that. Kind of sent me good vibes the entire time. I had so many messages daily, but people just, from back home saying like, good luck, we're watching you. That meant a lot because, I wasn't expecting to be on the lead card every round, and I sure wasn't expecting to win it. But every bit of motivation I took to heart, and I really wanted to make those back home proud. And so I was battling for everybody.
Well, one of my favorite moments of the 3 or 4 days there was, in fact, watching you hug your dad at the end. That's those are just moments that you'll have forever and that he'll have forever. And I just think it was awesome. Sometimes parents aren't there or aren't able to, participate or don't share that same love or passion or recognize it or are physically present. And so, for your dad to literally be taking photos of your winning putt and then a moment, later be able to embrace you, it's something I'll cherish forever. I think that was pretty awesome. So I'm super happy for both of you guys to be able to see that. What any parting shots? Anything you'd like to say to the rest of the world before we cut you loose here tonight? You've got world champ things to do, I'm sure. Autographs to sign and.
So during the Final 9 live video, I saw people comparing me to the Domino's guy. The color scheme was completely off, guys. Come on now.
Because you were wearing a red, white, and blue shirt with black pants, right?
Yeah. They were like, I saw Domino's. Then I also saw another one. It was comparing me to Ricky Bobby. So that's awesome.
You're gonna get I mean, you know, your face and style and everything's gonna be out there. Let me ask this.
The worst thing that could happen is if someone came up with a great nickname for AJ based on his color scheme. Golfers.
Is there anyone you feel like you now most associate or familiarize yourself with or assimilate to, if that's a way to put it? Is there anyone that you either try to emulate or anything like that?
No, I try to be unique with myself. You know, the way I view it is this may be the first time you see me on here, but I'm gonna make sure it's not the last time. So
okay,
awesome.
So you know, I like to my career goal is with myself as a upcoming professional in disc golf is, you know, I want you to see me more. I don't want to be forgotten. So,
well, it's as you said, there's a tall task. I've seen the last 25 years or so of AM Worlds winners, and I've seen some go on to do big things. Some have stepped away from the game, you know, and everything in between. So it'll be awesome. I watched that Paul Macbeth fella. He once played in an AM Worlds even. So it'll be awesome to see your journey, and I'm glad that I personally was there. I want to thank the PDGA for working with me and for Discraft and the Quad Cities, their whole crew, and everyone else for me being present to capture what I did and to take in the experiences firsthand, because like I said, it was awesome to see how it all went down, and you're a great ambassador and a great voice and a great presence out on the course, so we're glad to have you.
Oh, also, I'd like to, one more thing before you go. I'd like to thank everybody who volunteered in some way for the AM Worlds. You know, there was so much water on the course, which was absolutely necessary. A good bit of spotters, which is great. You know, all these people, they take time out of their day to come, you know, volunteer for these events, and you know, the event wouldn't be the same without them. So I'd like to thank each one of them. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, to know, as I mentioned last week, people take vacation from their job to then come stand in 90-degree weather with 90% humidity. You're right. It could not be done without the amazing volunteer base that's out there. So
absolutely, and for all the AMs coming out to Charlotte next year, hope to see you there.
Awesome. All right, so for our world champion, AJ Carey, along with his fiancee, Deanne, thank you so much for joining us. As you said, we look forward to seeing you more here on the show. I look forward to seeing you more around the country, especially when I'm down in that side of it, and looking for big things from you. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, AJ.
See you, champ.
We'll see you.
Again, AJ Carey, your 2017 Advanced Men World Champion, and I was genuinely excited. No matter who we had, we want to have him on the show, and all the guys were great, all the finalists were great. But in seeing him play a few of the rounds that I did and recording him, he's just, everyone said on the board, he's just an all-around stand-up guy, super polite. Friendly, appreciative, just an all-around great guy, great ambassador.
And off the record, you had told me that as well.
Yes,
not just on the
correct,
not just on camera, but Terry even said, he's like, no, this AJ kid, he's the real deal. He's a good kid. You know, I'm happy.
Yeah,
any of the winners have been great, but like you'd said, like he's a good winner.
He absolutely was, and I fully believe him when he talks about whether or not he would have came out on top. I feel like there would have been a genuine excitement for any of them. They all bonded throughout the week. A lot of them mentioned Colin Poe, who slipped out of the final 9. He was right there in the thick of things throughout most of the week. A lot of these guys had been playing together quite a bit, and they had become, they've become at other events actually pretty close, the AM Nationals and so on. And so to see what they did here this week was awesome. Alec was a guy I got to know who I hadn't previously known at all. As you'll see in the video, he's also very lighthearted and genuinely having a really good time out there. And so it was great to see him and all the support that he had. And then, Dylan Lotek and his dad was out there. And yeah, it was just all around. It was really awesome to see. And then the one guy that we kind of referenced a few weeks ago who we hadn't met or known anything really about, Chris, he was the 1,000 rated guy, the 1,000 rated guy.
Christopher Kesseloff.
And, in from California, had a really also excitable mentality to him and was out there just to have fun. At that point he knew he was in the finals, but quite a ways out of it, or a few behind. You got nothing to lose.
If you can't win, that's the best spot to be. Like, just, you've got no pressure on you. You're going to get to showcase. You get to have some fun. You can't get any worse. I don't know. That's something we'll never know, but...
Well, Chris Jerkins out on the board says, according to an update by city staff, the Quad City DJs and the Chamber of Commerce stated that last week's disc golf tournament had an $800,000 economic impact on the area. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, there's these magic formulas that basically say when a person comes to town, on average, they spend X, and then there's some multipliers in there and some other fancy stats and figures. And they can basically say, hey, when there's this many people here, this is what it means to our area. This is hotel rooms. This is, going out to eat. This is shopping locally, spending their money. And when you see things like, nearly $1 million in economic impact, those are things that we need to then very much promote and talk about when we're going to other places to host big events. When you can say, hey, city of X, I'd like to bring this big tournament here. On average, this is what we see. And the Visitors and Convention Bureau, CVBs as they're usually referred to, very much that's their job. That's what they're concerned about, is getting heads in beds and bringing and boosting that local economy. I mean, and you think about it on a larger scale, when a Chicago Cubs win the World Series, or anyone does well in a playoffs, or even any NFL team just gets into the playoffs, and then a few games take place.
Yep.
It's massive money. We're obviously not on that scale, but those are things that are important that we really need to tout and put out there. So that's a way that disc golf can grow and expand and be taken more seriously, because these events do so much. I think of Ledgestone, and I'm sure Nate Heinold, if he was out on the board, could talk about it. You're talking about 800, 900, 1,000 or more people coming to a relatively small community, just like you see with Glassblown, and just taking over an entire area. Communities love that. If we're nice, communities love that.
Yeah, communities love it, especially smaller communities love it when you can bring in a lot of people. Look at Emporia. That's why they get behind it. And
Ledgestone. And that's where sometimes on the flip side of that coin, though, I think of here in Milwaukee, we had roughly 550 people here for Am World, similar numbers, in 2007. Unfortunately, that's not even a drop in the bucket. You're talking about those golfers plus friends and family. That's not a drop in the bucket compared to a festival that takes place that has a few 100,000 on any given weekend that come in and out, or a Northwestern Mutual conference that's going on this weekend.
5,000 or 5,500, I thought I saw Northwestern Mutual employees in the city of Milwaukee right now.
It's big enough that I believe tonight they have Christina Aguilera in here as a...
Every year they get, and I have some friends who, well, they work for, one just got let go. The other works for Northwestern Mutual, and they rent out, like, usually the Mecca or the Bradley Center, and they bring in a huge artist, like
Christina
Aguilera, or literally top name artists, because they can afford to. I mean, they're an insurance company, and
those people.
So
anyway, the point being, though, big events, sometimes a big event in a smaller community or a medium-sized community, when it brings it in and it goes well and it's successful, and you see hotels are happy, and you see that restaurants are happy, and the mom and pop shops are happy, all of those people, that's how you can build some momentum in hosting large events. Some people say, how do you get one here, and what does it mean? And I'll say a World Championships in Santa Cruz didn't have the same overall feel and impact as it does when it's in Emporia, and there could be as many or more people. It's just it can depend on the community greatly. So
if I put it out on the board, but I wanted to say it out because I thought it was clever. If he looked like the Domino's guy, you got to go with AJ Carey Outer Delivery.
Yeah, there you go. I could go with that.
I'm good with that. So I don't want to overlook the FPO. Or I'm sorry, FPO. The
FA1.
FA1 winner.
Correct. Absolutely not. As I had the pleasure of meeting her, the entire lead card, and filming them, and a plug for Prodigy's coverage. I believe today he also released their Final 9. The FA1 Final 9, I believe, was also released late this afternoon, if I recall seeing it. So you can go out and check out the action. But go ahead and let's list off a number of our winners.
So in the advanced women's field, Heather Zimmerman handily takes down the field by 9 strokes over Haley King, Missy Gannon, Sarah Gilpin. So congratulations, Heather, on your Am Worlds victory. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to seeing you out on the open circuit coming up. So
Heather also out of North Carolina. So having the top 2 premier divisions, so to speak, being taken home by people from North Carolina, very impressive. Haley King from here in Wisconsin, got to watch her participate. She plays for Discraft. Missy Gannon, an interesting story. I'll steal a little, maybe they already used their thunder, but minutes before the Final 9, Paige Pierce went up to Missy Gannon and said, "Hey, welcome to Team Dynamic Disc." And there was a conversation as to whether or not that might rattle her more or less or anything like that. She was, I don't want to say comfortably in third or
Sure.
second at the time. I think she was tied actually for second, but they were a number of strokes behind. There was a lot of ground to make up on Heather, and I believe Paige actually went to Missy's fiance and had asked, "Hey, do you think this would ease her mind or help her?" And apparently helping her was the sentiment. So right before the Final 9,
I would have waited.
that Bobby Brown,
I'm sure that was a tough
the
decision.
hairless Bobby Brown and the hairful Robert McCall, both were like, "No, we should wait till the end. That's silly. You don't go up to someone before a Final 9." And Paige is like, "No, now's the time. Let's get her on the team."
Understanding, of course, the positions, she wasn't going to win.
Not likely.
Not
yes.
likely going to win a Final 9 down by what looked like
7 or 8 at the
4
time.
strokes. Yeah. Yeah, something. Well, the finals at 26 versus 30, so
there's 4
picked up
there.
4 strokes, and she won by 11. So, yeah, 7
7.
strokes. So, 7 strokes. The odds of that happening, it could happen.
It could have, but yes. So that there was a massive debate. Again, I watched Bobby Brown and I don't know if McCall like chimed in or if he just rubbed his hair the whole time, but there was a debate as to whether or not it was appropriate to tell her right before the finals. And like I said, Paige talked to her fiance and talked to Missy's fiance, and ultimately they went up and this all unfolded. I know Paige had talked to her a little bit at the Rocky Mountain Women's Championships a few weeks earlier, and Missy's a delightful, wonderful woman and has a great future ahead of her. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing that unfolded that I stood there and witnessed as it was happening. And then seeing, as you said, 4th place Sarah Gilpin. So awesome to see. Looks like they had a fun finals, and Heather played solid and, like you said, extended her lead a little bit. So congrats to her as well. What other divisions did we see out there, Johnny?
All right, I'm just going to scroll down and
let's read through some of
we're
our
going to read
winners.
through some of them. So the your Advanced Masters winner, Roy Quinlinton. The Advanced Masters Women, Kimberly, I'm going to mess up this name, Gianola. Advanced Grand Masters, Michael Cabela. Advanced Grandmaster Women, Lorena Dostal. Advanced Senior Grandmasters, Paul Wright. Advanced Senior Grandmaster Women, Christine Ford. Advanced Legend, Rob Lee. Junior 1 boy, Evan Bamford. And these are the ones, actually, I mean, no offense to the Legends and the Grandmasters. I get less excited about those winners than I do the juniors, because I think the juniors, you see, these could be our up-and-coming next pros. That when you win an Advanced Grandmaster or Advanced Legend or, Senior Grandmaster, they may go pro into their particular division, but you're never probably going to hear them on a regular basis as far as like, oh, this is like,
well, they're not a featured division now,
correct,
so to speak, and even if they move into their pro rankings, they're still not going to be a featured division, because
correct.
There's emphasis on the pro men and the pro women,
exactly,
open divisions more often,
as opposed to the juniors. These are the young kids. These are the ones we really need to look at and say, oh my God, look at this 8-year-old coming up out of the ranks. He's someday going to be a Am World or a Pro World champ. So let's get Junior 1 boys is Evan Bamford. Junior 1 girls, Alexis Mandahando, thank you. Junior 2 boys, David O'Meara. Junior 2 girls, Carly Baith? I'm going to go with. Junior 3 boys, Gannon Burr. Junior 3 girls, Hope C. Brown. Junior 4 boys, Colby Sanchez. Junior 4 girls, Virginia Polkinghorn. Junior 5 boys, Wyatt Mahoney. Junior 5 girls, Haley Shintaku. And Junior 6 boys, Caden Bell. So congratulations to all our winners at Am Worlds. Next year will be interesting because the juniors are split off. They're going to be going into Emporia, so it's going to be a smaller Am Worlds. And yeah, do you think that's going to... I understand the point of splitting them off, and I do agree with it. Do you think it hurts? We were just talking about economic impact. Do you think it's going to hurt that in that rather than getting... Well, how many were at this Am Worlds?
576.
576?
No, 620, 640.
Rather than getting 640 heads and beds, you can only bring in 400 or 420. Or do you just increase the size of Am Worlds now to, rather than having juniors, let's say there's 100 juniors that show up, you're going to have 100 more advanced players. I don't know if they hit their cap at advanced or if they're just... What do you think?
I think it's fine because it's going to allow for both the Emporia, who's going to be hosting the Junior Worlds for the next 3 years. They have a proven track record of putting on phenomenal events, from amateur events all the way to the top professional events and everything in between. So their central location and their proven track record, I think, is going to create a draw. And if anyone can have a massive junior-based Worlds, it's them, I feel like.
No, I understand that. I'm not.
You're saying, are we watering it down by having it in 2 separate places?
Yeah, I'm not so much.
I'm not worried about that
I'm not
at
so
all.
much, like I said, I'm not so much worried about the juniors. Emporia's going to knock it out of the park. I'm thinking for future reference, like I said, we've always been able to say, hey, we can bring 500 to 600 to 700 people in.
I think they'll both grow.
You think they'll grow and we'll still be able to have that kind of draw.
This year, for instance, you're looking at 618, 620 that were ultimately in the Quad Cities. Depending on how they schedule themselves and what kind of workload they have and whatnot, they could host that many at Charlotte next year of just amateurs without juniors included. They have the capacity to do that. And a lot of states have a capacity to host 500, 600, 700 amateurs. Yeah. So if there's always anywhere from 200 to 500 juniors for the next 3 years in Emporia, and there's anywhere from 400 to 700 amateurs somewhere else for the Am Worlds, I still think those are great numbers. They're massive numbers, and it allows for both of them to grow and blossom. Who knows? Junior Worlds someday could be 500 juniors themselves.
I agree, and I think overall you're getting to the point where I was kind of leading. I believe as well that this is going to allow for bigger expansion of each division, and while you might see a couple of years where it dips the number of players, I think that's going, you give us another 5 years and we're going to hit those same numbers just with each individual Worlds. So
correct, and same could be said of our Pro Worlds. Yes, we're used to that 300, 400, 500 number for our Pro Worlds, but now if we have the 200 or 300 MPO, FPO, that has not quite endless expansion opportunities, but it's got some room to grow. And then on the age protected side, that has some room to grow. So it's like splitting your shares. I mean, we've got plenty of people. I think if we split these shares and they move, they're just going to continue to grow on their own.
Split my share, Amazon. My one share, split it, please.
So it should be great to see. Looking forward to, next year. We're going to be heading, like we said, Junior Worlds is going to be in Emporia, which I'm excited about watching. And then I think
Am Worlds is in Charlotte.
Am Worlds is going to go to Charlotte with Robert Leonard as your tournament director.
Pro Worlds is in Vermont.
And Pro Worlds is in Vermont.
Do we know where Masters Worlds is next year?
I don't know if that's been awarded or not.
Okay.
If somebody knows they want to share it, we'll gladly promote it, but I'm not sure if that's been specifically talked about. One thing that I want to talk about is, and this is totally stealing their thoughts and their posts. Two of the posts that jumped out at me were Madison Walker and Paige Pierce. Okay. Madison Walker and Paige Pierce, they both, very shortly after their Worlds experience, Am Worlds, had gone on and said, and this is a very oversimplified paraphrasing, Am Worlds is awesome. Our pros should be there and experience it. These people are in these younger players, these amateurs and juniors know what they're doing. They're inspirational. They're fun to be around. They're great sports people and athletes, sportsmen and women and athletes. They learn and absorb and pick up so much. You should take it upon yourself to experience Am Worlds, rooting on and getting to know and be around these kids. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I privately sent a message to Paige and Madison, and I know they're not the only pros there.
Zach Melton, Will Schusterek, Cam Todd, Leslie Todd, Jay and Dez all ring a bell.
For those of you that this past weekend was the San Diego Comic-Con, there was a video of a little girl walking up to Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, and this little girl is just bawling. She's so excited to see Wonder Woman. And I sent them a message. I said, hey, for what it's worth, you guys are awesome. And I sent them a clip, and I said, FYI, this was you this weekend. And it's not just them, it's the other pros. But the ones that take the time to go to Am Worlds and cheer on the juniors and cheer on the girls, like, that's what they are to these girls. So not everyone can be, and there are direct, as I said, I went off on this geeky thing, it was all private to them. There is a direct parallel between the number of female superheroes and the movies that represent them to the female aspect of our sport. 5, 6, 7, 8% we have.
Sure.
And just now we're
a major minority.
Yeah, a major. And just now we're getting our very first female superhero movie after 15 years of Marvel movies. We're finally getting a DC one. So I in my head, I kind of drew this parallel as to what it means to have these FPO players. Paige, I mean, I know she said last week she has no interest in going to play the European Open, but she could have set that aside and gone and won a major or competed with Katrina to win one, and either break even or maybe make a little money. And instead she chose to go to Am Worlds and really make these juniors and girls weeks helping out. So my hat's off to all the pros that get time. I know Macbeth likes to do it. Obviously, he wasn't about to miss a world tour / major. I know he would have loved to be there. I know a lot of those guys probably would like to be there. They set their priorities, and our other pros set their priorities differently.
Sure.
So it's I think it's a really good thing, and I agree. I would love to see more pros show up at these Am Worlds if possible.
So let me flip that coin to the negative and conversely say,
all the undue pressure that Paige and Madison are putting on these juniors.
Maybe conversely is not quite the word, but on the to further the point, we just talked about how these players, these juniors, these kids, and adults look up to our top professionals. You see the wiggle of the right plant foot, very Macbeth like. You see tons of mannerisms. I mean, countless
Did you see any
manners.
disc flips?
I saw all sorts of things throughout the few days I was there. The blowing on the hands when it seemed completely unnecessary,
sure.
and it was because it was a habit. All of these mannerisms that just perfectly mimic one or more of our top pros. And I watched a lot of different golf from a lot of different divisions, and I'm not singling any one person out. But with all of that being said, not only do they emulate all the things you're doing on all the positives, they emulate the negatives. I saw a few bad attitudes. I saw a few tempers, and I know they're in the heat of competition. I get all that. But when you see someone throw a fit the same way you see one of our pros throw a fit, and they're mimicking some of those mannerisms, that was equally as discouraging on the opposite end. And so my real point is, we know they look up to you. We know they're trying to do so many things to be like you, and that means they also watch you in your bad times.
Yeah.
And couple people, I unfortunately, I couldn't believe I was seeing it, because
Charles Barkley said it. I am not a role model.
He's a lot of things, but that's something to keep in mind. It was, unfortunately, as elated as I was to see the good, positive things, it brought it back down to reality a notch when I was like, oh man.
Yep. Just as we know, and we've said it before, be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of who's watching. Watch your temper. Watch your language. A lot of people get down on us when we show it.
Yeah.
Because we have the choice a lot of times. We can turn the camera away, but there's a small part of us that says, no, I want the world to see that. I want the world to see you throwing a fit. It
says something about your sportsmanship and your character as well.
It says something about your character, and if we're lucky, it shames you into not doing that again, because that's partially the goal. And everybody has a bad day. There are times that we'll turn the camera away. We'll turn the camera off. We don't show every fit or every punched ground or swiped mini or all that stuff.
I blurt myself out when I'm having a bad day. I can have a bad day as well, and
of course we all do it. You just have to realize the stage that some people are on, and that the people that are looking to them.
Yeah, so it was clearly way more positives than not, but it hit home when I watched some golf, and I was like, again, when they're mimicking your bad reactions,
and it usually doesn't get better. Like
that's what's disheartening.
If you're already doing it, and you're not even, let's just say you're not on the lead card of advance, you're maybe the third or fourth card, the fifth card. You really?
Yeah. So anyway,
there's
I don't want
something to be said about always being at the bottom like me. You didn't care.
Then you just
you didn't
up.
throw many fits.
And I don't want. We'll move on from the negative tone of all that, but it's something to keep in mind. They look up to you in the good. They look up to you in the bad. And some of them will copy everything, and that means they're going to copy your bad mannerisms. So just be aware of those things, as you said.
So on to something more positive. Not really. I threw something out there about the European Open. Hole 16, the signature hay bale hole.
Is that where you throw to an area and then you kind of throw onto an island with some hay bales, and it's kind of on the side of a hill?
Yep.
Okay.
I put this one out on Course Review, and subsequently mostly got shot down. I think it's a dumb hole. Just dumb.
Why?
I hate that, and a lot of people corrected me, I guess. I hate that you have a special rule on one hole. To me, at a major.
Well, then don't attend the USDGC.
No, I know, and that's what
there's 18 special rules on 18 different holes.
And that was what I said. I said, a lot of people were like, well, you have to test out these rules in order to, and I said, that's fine. I get that. If you want to test out rules, do it at the Pro Tour. Do it at a B tier. Do it at an A tier. Don't do it at a major. And I know they're not testing it out anymore because it's been a rule for a variation of the rule for however long. But for those of you that don't know, you throw to a landing zone, and then you throw to an island. And if you don't get the island, you stay where you're at, and you throw again without a penalty
it's
stroke.
stroke and distance on that one hole.
It's not stroke, though. You don't take a penalty stroke.
Oh.
So you throw. If you don't make, you just throw again for no penalty. And the point is that it doesn't deter you from running at the basket. Because the island is so small, if it was old school OB rules, so many players would land, chuck it at the basket, throw it past, go OB, and then have a 15 to 20 footer for a par, we'll say. And I don't like it. I don't like it. It's a cool designed hole. I just don't like. I don't like.
You don't like the rules.
I don't like the rules. It's a major of ours, and same with USDGC, and we've harped on it before in the past. And people on the web board said, maybe in the future we will have different OB rules. Like maybe we'll put hazards in there versus just OB, take it from where it last went out. And we saw Nate Doss, who missed the island twice, I believe, on his third round. Maybe it was even his fourth round. Then he pitched up and tossed in, and I think took a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, he took a 6. I'm sorry. He took a 6 on that when that would have been an 8.
Sure.
He didn't make it in. I think he didn't go over. I mean, I understand the point. It makes it so you don't have to guess where you went OB. If you crossed over the island, I get all that.
Yeah.
But it's different from the rules stated. It's confusing for spectators unless it's pointed out. And it bothers
well,
me.
and I want to be totally fair. I know I just said USDGC, which is a great example of throughout the 10 or 12 years I've been there, there's been 3,000,001 different rules on different holes. Throwing that right into that same mixture was 2 years ago, the Ledgestone. It had some stroke and distance.
Yep.
It didn't. Same exact thing, and there was backlash, and there was some controversy about that. Things got altered. PDGA standards got altered. Tournament directors had a different outlook. Like there was plenty of conversation that ensued from that as we continued to learn and grow. So I'm not picking on any one event. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel like to this day when I go to the USDGC, there are, and I'm not picking on the USDGC. They're just my best example. There are 18 holes there, and I don't know how many different sets of rules. There's
Hazard,
island holes,
island
bunkers,
bunker,
and
standard OB,
stroke and distance. And they've all varied throughout the years. And I'm not even going to venture to guess the dozens of variations.
Mm-hmm.
But to go to a hole one year and play it this way, and then because of design and analysis, they say, well, next year we're going to try this approach. We think this makes a better hole. Every time they've changed it, it's not because they're some diabolical, idiots. It's because they're trying to make the best possible golf experience.
It's
just hard when it's under the
zone
microscope of being
a major
event.
I just hate it. Like I get that it adds drama and that you can make these players run at it, and they're not gonna lose the tournament probably on one hole. I get that, and I understand the reason for different OB rules to manufacture drama.
Sure.
At some points. I just like all the different rules. I think it's confusing, and I'm looking at it from a spectator point of view. If I was someone in Finland who walked up and maybe didn't necessarily know disc golf, but I watched them on the hole prior. Someone went OB. They walked up to where it went OB, and then they threw their shot. I'm like, okay, so you take it where it went out. The next hole, I watched someone go OB, and they just throw from where they go, where they throw again. I would find that confusing.
Sure.
Unless
good thing we don't have any spectators.
3,400, and because we can't expect every spectator to have a caddy book.
Correct.
And it's not like they make an announcement on the tee.
This hole has red flags, therefore it's an island hole. You must come to rest on the island. The next hole is completely different. We'll see you on 18.
Yeah. And it's different for the viewers on camera, where an announcer can talk about that. Where Big Germ, if he's talking like, oh yeah, this is the bunker rule. To me, it just screams of a little immaturity in our sport, and I would love to see it changed. I don't expect it to.
Sure.
I don't think, because it's a signature hole at this point. Same with USDGC. They're going to have 4 different OB rules for between the 18 different holes. I get it. I just don't like it, and that's a personal opinion.
I hear you. I've made the joke now. I've only played in a couple USDGCs, although I've watched quite a few and attended quite a few. I would get confused year after year because there's times where you will play a particular set of rules for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years, and then the next year it's entirely different on that hole. And that's part of being a professional is knowing the rules, knowing where you're going, understanding the ground rules. But if you've been there long enough, you actually may get more confused than if you just showed up, and were playing for your first one, because that's all you would know.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, we can end on that. It's funny you specifically, talk about that situation, because when I think different rules, I think just that. I think USDGC.
Of course,
the
because
caddy guide is. Your head could spin.
There's 3 different colors in the caddy guide depending on the different OBs, and you have to make sure to read. You have to read the comments on every single hole, because as we've seen, they do change it up. Like this past year, what was it, hole 16? Hole 16 had a triple mando, which it never had before, and. It's like 15. I'm sorry, hole 15. Hole 15 had the triple mando, which I think it had never had before. The one that goes straight out into the woods. Yeah,
it's been there a couple of years, but
I didn't think it was a triple. I thought it was just a double mando on the sides, but they added the top this time.
It was at least there in 15 because I saw it there.
The triple mando?
Yep.
Okay.
But 14 maybe not so much. 12 maybe it was there, but it wasn't. At one point it was a totally different hole that had a triple mando, being the clown's mouth, and going a different way.
As we called it, the clown's mouth.
So, all right. Well, we're going to move on. Correct. There's again, I want to be very clear. I've had this conversation with Jonathan Poole and others. They are always trying to make the best challenge and the best course with what they have available. Hence, you see a variety of different rules. You think about how the bamboo hole and that wall has changed throughout the years. You think of all the various ways that they switch things up. They're trying to make the best golf and the best experience and challenge the players appropriately. Just sometimes I think, like you said, from a spectator end, it could be a little overwhelming or confusing. So
for sure,
I hear you. All right, so I don't know if we have anything else. I've got some after show stuff that could be coming up. Ratings. I know you were all over the ratings today.
What?
Yeah. Okay. PDGA ratings were released.
Yep.
I heard on Facebook.
I had seen it on Facebook that they were updated. I only pay attention because of the fantasy stuff. I have to know when I should and shouldn't update ratings for players. I'll probably update them sometime this weekend at Ledgestone, so that people that are ready to pick now don't get messed up and have to different ratings. And it's always a balancing act. But
all right, well, I'm going to mention it in the after show, and I'm going to talk about it. And I hope it's not a secret. I don't know if if it is. Oh well. I don't know if it is. Oh, I don't know that I care. Ledgestone is going to have a very unique feature taking place on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Next Thursday, so 9 days from now, I believe it is already. Some of the pro open men will be still on the course over at Lake Eureka, taking place over at Sunset Hills Golf Course on hole number 8. I believe it's hole 18, regular hole 18. Myself and maybe a few others will be there with a few cameras, because you will have an opportunity, anyone that shows up will have an opportunity to take home a $10,000 ace pool.
Awesome.
So it'll be I think it's $5 a throw. Don't quote me on that, but I believe you'll have an opportunity to step up. It'll be recorded, and we got to get a few other legal details situated. I believe I've also heard that if there are more than one, if it continues to get split, but there would be a $10,000 purse, so to speak, and from a certain time frame. I think 3 to 8 is the magic time frame, but I don't know that for a fact. Yeah, a $10,000. How awesome would that be?
It'd be freaking awesome. I don't know what you want me to say. It'd be great. It'd be great.
Like. Yeah,
the ace hole is 700 feet. I heard. No, we'll get more into the after show.
We'll talk about it then. But that's what I wanted to talk about or mention. We'll talk about it a little later, and then we got some other silly stuff, golf related or otherwise, that we can talk about during the after show. So if you think we're good, I want to say it's 380, and I think effectively throws about 340 is what was I believe was said. So, and there's a spectator match. We'll talk about that too. So we're going to close it up. We'll get into the after show. We got some golf stuff to talk about in the after show. Surprise, surprise. But we also have some non-golf stuff to talk about. And interact with us, please, using the YouTube chat board. That's your best place. We're glad that you're following along, listening, and watching. But if you want to interact live, you can do so on the YouTube chat board. Just click on the little $ and then chat away. It works. It works great for the super chat, so we see what you're doing. So for our amateur world champion, AJ Carey, along with his fiance, who he also had an amateur doubles title with. Congratulations to him and Deanne. And for Dynamite Danavici giving us stats and results from around the world. We appreciate it. For Johnny V and myself, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been podcast 153. Stick around for the after show. You can step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the video credits. If you're interested in being listed as a producer on SmashBoxxTV's podcast, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Welcome to the Smashbox TV After Show with your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and Johnny V, podcast 153's After Show, to be specific, here on Tuesday night, July 25th, 2017. I had a moment of...
Clarity?
No, not clarity.
No, I know.
Clearly not. A little recollection, and just thinking about it almost exactly a year ago, we were celebrating our 100th podcast, and we so graciously, I know there's just some simple math there to do, but aside from that, what really put the smile on my face was the amazing individuals, a lot of our top professionals, and a number of other people who so graciously had said kind words, believe it or not, about us in doing our 100th podcast, and thinking, yeah, that was a year ago. So, of course, the math brings us to 152, 153 right now. 1 year later, I got that. But the memory was there of all these
it's very cool.
Nice people that said nice things, and here we are a year later.
Still kicking.
Somehow still kicking. And
just started up a new podcast, as I put again. This was our second week in doing, this is my second week in doing what I'm calling, and I want to, if anyone has a better name for it, I'm not opposed to changing it. This just the Smashbox Week in Review. It's pretty simple. Basically just doing a quick 2 to 4 minute update on
the Smash Take.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think I kind of want to avoid Smash, but I don't know, maybe not.
Not Smash the candy out of Norway. That stuff is amazing. Chocolate covered bugles.
Yeah, I know you talk about it. So it basically, it's a 3-minute update on the world of disc golf, any event update results, any PDGA news that I see, and anything crazy happening, of which there was none this week other than event results. So, yeah, if you come up with a good one, message me.
Smashcast.
Smashcast.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. If you, you haven't.
Smash back isn't bad.
Cool one. I think you're joking if you say don't spoil the European Open coverage that you're waiting on the MPO final round yet. Hopefully you're joking there. But either way. So again, this is the after show. We're glad you guys could join us. One of the things we do here in the after show is we give away some goods to a Patreon supporter.
And this week, Disc Golf Nerd is giving something away.
Oh,
he said.
okay. Okay, well then never mind. I have some stuff. I'm going to leave it sit right here on the desk.
Yeah. I need
and I'll give it away
I'll
next
be
week.
right back. I need to get something.
Okay, so I will carry the show here for a moment, and I'll wait for John to get back. I've got well, I don't know if it's an interesting one. There was a little hot take I had on an item today, but we'll get back to that one in a minute. Disc Golf Nerd sounds like he has graciously offered up something. We will be sending this out. So if you want to be eligible to win stuff for free from us, all you have to do is be a Patreon supporter. And what that means is you go out to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's patreon.com. And you can support us. What you do is you basically make a pledge or a commitment, and it can be as little as $1. It could be $1 per show. It could be $1 per month. Whatever the case might be, you can set caps and levels, whatever you want to do. And at various levels, there are various rewards. Well, anyone that gives $1 or more is automatically eligible for our weekly giveaways, and then we randomly generate a name during the after show, and then sometime within the next 2 hours to 2 months, I will eventually send out. No, I send out 3 packages today, actually. I'm very excited. I think I might be close. I will say it yet again. If you are expecting something from us that you've won, reach out to me. I feel like I'm pretty close to caught up, if not completely. But if I owe you something or we owe you something, just give me a gentle reminder. I'm not offended.
You're a busy guy.
I'm scatterbrained.
And you're a busy guy.
I'm busy. That's not an excuse to not do a good job. But yes, I am busy, but I'm also a little unorganized. That's the best way to put that.
Everyone that listens knows that Disc Golf Nerd does these awesome disc reviews for us. They're usually 2 to 3 minutes long, and he kind of goes through and he cuts down his longer reviews and sends it. So I got something in the mail from him. It's a Disc Golf Nerd first run.
What?
It says 2017 first run DGN. Yeah.
Let me see this guy.
It's got his.
It's even PDGA approved. Good job. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, he's got a little sticker on the back.
Yeah, it says first run of 2017. It's the first run with his stamp on it.
Yes.
For those of you that know. And so there's this. He's got this nice little nerdy logo on the bottom, which I really do like.
You would.
I got the glasses, so it's very cool.
And this is specifically a 174-gram Defender.
Yes.
So that's what you will be winning.
He said, no, it's not.
No.
He said I could keep it.
Oh, I thought we were giving it away.
No, he's going to give away a different disc.
He's going to send one out.
He's going to send one out. He's going to send out, I believe, a Warden, a white Warden. He did say, he's like, you want to give that one away? And I'm like, no, I think I want to keep this one.
There you go.
He said he would give one away because A, I don't have a Defender, and B, I kind of just want to keep it because it's cool.
Okay.
So
well, there you go. So we will do a Patreon giveaway tonight, and our friend Disc Golf Nerd will be the one that will be fulfilling it. So if that doesn't show up by Thursday, get on his. No, I'm just kidding. But if that doesn't, we'll reach out. We'll get all the info. We'll pass it on, and then he will send you a disc. So very cool. Thank you very much.
He's sending out. It's this week. We're going to give away a Prime Disc Golf Nerd stamped Warden. So I believe he said it was white. That's what he told me. So
a Prime Disc Golf Nerd stamped Warden. That is what is. That's to be given away here tonight. Valued at $49.99.
Normally, yeah, they're a little cheaper, but the DGN stamp really
First
bumps
run.
up the value.
First run, yeah.
Get in on this, man.
Get in on it. So you can do that. All right. Let's place our bets when Terry will send out packages. What are you talking about, Miles Parkhill over at Paragon?
He's much better at sending them out than he is requesting things from you, because normally he does that last minute.
Yes, I am also very good at that. Speaking of a few requests, I'd like to thank Andrew. Last week, I made a request on the show that if there was any Photoshop, I was going to say whizzes or experts out there, Andrew reached out to me. We connected a few days later, ultimately, and he has saved me hours and hours by helping me out with something. So thank you so much with some of the work on the graphics and some other details. I can't say it enough. It was awesome. I look forward to hopefully having you save me more hours in other ways in terms of some scripts and some graphics and things. So thank you. Also, a thank you to AJ Risley, the disc golf boy. He did a little bit of graphic work for me, but then also worked a camera at the Am World. So he was out there running around doing Instagram and other things, working with the PDGA. He stepped in during the final 9 of the men's finals and then worked a second camera for me. So I appreciate that as well, AJ. Thank you very much. And Robert McCall, well, he's on the board, and he just walks around and looks pretty.
That's always got to. That's why DD hired him.
Yes, he's the official DD model. Now,
DD pretty boy.
Now, I heard there's rumors that I'm starting that I think we may see a trimmed up Zach Melton. I think there was a conversation. You want to talk about hair? He's...
How trimmed up? Like just trimmed up, or
I don't know. He made it sound like he was getting a haircut, and by the way he worded it, I think it's going to be a significant or substantial haircut. So look forward to a new Zach Melton. You may or may not even recognize him at that point. Cool one out on the board saying that I owe everyone a grip bag contest, which I never hosted, but I know you keep trying every week. You can keep trying. I do have a dozen or so grip bags that I acquired that are all brand new with tags ready to go that I've never attempted to sell. So if anybody wants to purchase a grip bag, come find me. I've got 1 or 2 or 10 for sale for you.
I don't. Just saying I don't.
I will sell you one.
I don't want one.
You might.
I mean, they're nice. I just have no need for one.
We'll see.
I do need some sort of bag or cart.
What I just told you, I have all your bag needs.
I still have my.
I've got DD based bags. I've got Prodigy bags, Innova bags, grip bags. I've got them all for you.
I'm sure you do.
We will make it happen.
Will you sell them to me at like 110% value of what you paid for them?
No.
Or 110% what they're valued at? Because that's usually what you try to do to me.
I'll work out a good deal.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's some terminology on the Reddits. That's something like TIL. Today I learned.
Yep, TIL. Today I learned.
Yep. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to Google that before I finally just remember today I learned, which is kind of ironic if you think I can't remember today I learned that today I learned.
I know.
Well, filing under the DSIR category today.
DSIR.
That's made up.
Okay.
But you might be able to guess it.
No.
Okay. Dumb stuff I read. How about that?
All right.
DSIR.
DSIR.
One of, it's not really relevant who the golfer is. Someone in my feed. There was a funny debate that went on today, and this is not golf related. So tune out.
This is after show.
This is after show. Had suggested. He said here in 2017 he's done with and ready to be done with buses. The mandate for buses to stop at railroad tracks. Just thinks it's unnecessary.
Quite honestly, could be the dumbest thing I've read this year. And we're talking about a year in which not necessarily my favorite politician was elected president and who has said some dumb things on Twitter. And I still think this thing that double R railroad tracks put out on Facebook is dumber.
So I'm waiting for a compelling argument as to.
There is none. There's no compelling. There's nothing. That anyone can say that says no. I think buses shouldn't stop at railroad tracks because I value the 30 seconds it takes for the bus to slow down to speed up more so than the lives of 20 to 60 children that could be on there. Sure, 99.9999%. They're not gonna have a problem. So
good. That's what we want, right?
Yep.
Is that they don't have a problem. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting, and we can all have our quirks. I've got lots of odds and ends, the things that get me fired up and riled up, and soapboxes that I jump up on and scream and beat my chest about. But
and let me lay it out. Maybe there could be people that aren't necessarily familiar. Maybe they're young, they don't drive. Maybe they're old and they forgot. Maybe they're overseas and buses don't stop for railroad tracks. It is I think it's a federal mandate, but it's probably state by state, that buses slow down, open up their doors, and listen, usually for trains, and then go. Because not all stops, not all trains have the guardrails or the guards that come down or the lights that flash.
Sure.
Most do, I'm sure. But there might be some that
small town cities where
don't.
trains not very common.
So
sure.
a bus will stop at a railroad track and open its door because there might be 20 to 50 kids screaming on that bus that the bus driver maybe can't pay attention, can't hear the train coming. I laughed so hard at that, like when he said it, and I was just like, no.
Of all arguments to take up,
sure. You want to... Yes, you're right. I'm not even going to say it. No, that's just...
Okay.
Yes, you're right. That's just what a hill to die on.
Yeah, okay. Well, I thought it was funny, and I, again, file it under the DSIR, and whether that's a thing or not, I don't care. I'm calling it a thing for myself to file under that category.
Yeah, I got a kick out of it. As I said, I made a comment down there and said, yeah, I also heard that... my cousin's uncle's nephew's niece's girlfriend flew out of a car window when it flipped over, so I'm not going to wear my seatbelt because it's way safer. Like, it just makes no sense. Sure, 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million, that might be the case, but most of the time that don't end well. Like, it's just one of those things. So
all right, well, I thought it was funny. Again, not golf related. It was a golfer, not golf related. So speaking of golf related though, and again, okay. I'm certainly not going to get into it the way it was, but a hot topic, fair enough, last week was talking about the PDGA stance and disc golfer stance on some transgender situations that may or may not be arising. I don't think that's impolite to say. Arising within our sport. Obviously, it can be a hot topic. Fair or not, your Caitlyn Jenner situation and story has, I think, helped bring that conversation to the public eye a lot more. And from there, everyone has formulated your own opinions. And I'm not here to talk anything about that except for the PDGA stance and the referencing to Olympic committees, the referencing to other pro sports, and so on and so forth. But I know our pals over at News and Brews, Murder Mike, Carl Renda, had a very loud and very
it was a very active discussion,
highly contested.
Mm-hmm.
Very vocal discussion and lots of things said, on all ends of it. It was something that was in the news last week. I would suggest, and you want to call me not hardcore because I'm not going to get into it. That's fine. I would suggest just educate yourself, see how you feel about it. The question becomes, is it something that is it something we're going to be addressing here more often than not, or more often in general, I should say, within the sport of disc golf? How do you feel about it within disc golf versus how other sports handle it? I think that's what I want is, if anything, it gives us an opportunity for the conversation to be had. Of course, I hope everyone can have civil discourse and a normal conversation while being polite yet respectful to as many people as you possibly can without being a piece of trash. I think there's a lot of ways. There was some trashy ways it was handled, I think.
You think?
But it's a conversation that can be had, but I think it can be had in a very polite, friendly, civil, logical, respectful way. And it was Denise Cameron, who is Eric McCabe's better half, said she was a little disappointed in how some of it went down, and that's how I felt as well. And again, you can have your own opinions. I'm good with that. That doesn't mean you have to throw all form of respect out the window.
I went on Facebook and preemptively blocked 2 people because of that conversation.
Wow.
They weren't friends. I just went out and blocked them because of the way they handled it. Not their opinions, because there was plenty of opinions out there. Just based on the way that they had gone about their arguments with name calling and complete disrespect. I just went, you know what? I don't need to ever see anything you do. Clearly, you and I will never probably be on the same wavelength, and it's better that I don't see what you're putting out there. And they were both golfers, from what I could see, from different areas of the country, and whatever, how many mutual friends. I was just,
as you said, you may have just proactively or preemptively said, you're
like,
not someone I need to associate with.
Yeah, I'm good where I am.
You can have your opinions, and I'll have mine, and let's. If I block you now, it may not. We may not need to cross.
Exactly,
and that's fine too.
And again, it was not based on their opinions, because there's a bunch of people on here with a bunch of different opinions. It was simply the way they went about it. And
sometimes it's not just what you say; it's how you say it. And sometimes it is how you say it.
A lot of times it's what you say too. But.
It can be that as well. So I'm looking for the exact terminology because I don't want to screw it up. Stockholm. Let me do some Googling here.
Yep.
And clearly, as you can tell by me having to do some Googling even, I'm not fully versed and educated on it. And I know that even within the heat of the debate, I was being called out saying, how do you feel about this? So on and so forth. I don't feel like I'm even at perfect liberty to say myself exactly how I feel. I don't have to say it in a public forum either, but... Stockholm Stockholm Consensus?
Yes, the 2003 Stockholm Consensus.
There you go.
I believe the PDGA
has essentially
adopted
mirrored or adopted
that those standards and stance.
Yes.
So if you have any questions on how the PDGA handles it, you can look it up. It's just called the 2003 Stockholm Consensus on Sex Reassignment in Sports. So
okay, yeah.
So go ahead and Google yourself up and down, and you'll get a general idea. There's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even here to debate it. I'm just letting you know that this is taking place. I did a quick Google search. I came to the PDGA board meeting minutes from what looks like February of 2016. Within here, it says the IOC, I think that's International Olympic Committee transgender policy. Sean Sinclair, Brian Graham, there's some notes in here. And then it stated that Graham had stated, again, this is 2016, Graham had stated the PDGA's default transgender policy, as approved by a previous board, was the Stockholm Consensus, but that he would look into changes and bring more information back to the board. Again, that's meeting minutes from a year and a half ago. But if you want to educate yourself, start with the Stockholm Consensus and then kind of dive into it further from there. Yeah, that was my point.
And there was some really good conversation between Mike and some other people. And I know Mike is going to he reached out. Someone from the transgender community reached out to him, and he's going to actually appear on some show that she does. So I mean, there's some good communication going on for sure.
Correct. I think there was some positive outcomes.
Yeah, and
as a result, somewhere.
Yep, there was.
Yeah,
and there was some stupid people.
There was that.
I mean,
too.
There's always that on the internet, but these type of touchy subjects really bring people out of the woodwork, and it's unfortunate.
And again, I'm good with you having your own opinion and researching it and educating yourself as I need to do further. I'm all about the discussion taking place. It's like everything else, though. It's how that discussion takes place, and what can we learn, and where can we grow, and where can we go from there. And I'm sure you guys all on the chat board right now could have your own massive discussion about it, and that's great. I think we all ask for just some respect when it takes place on all accounts.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look at it. Zach, I got to read your comment. It says Terry's hair is looking fly tonight. He's coming for you, McCall. So there's that. I want to thank Bill Beaupre. I had a good meeting with a local buddy the other day, and he talked about listens to the Answer Men podcast, and I think he consumes some Smashbox and is an all-around great guy, and I think he had himself a good time at Worlds. And Bill, keep doing what you're doing. I know you're working hard out there, buddy. Yeah. All right. Yes, Jarrett, we talked about the gallery. Jarrett Bass is on the board saying, did we see Finland's gallery? And we talked about this in the regular show, maybe some of the reasons why. And all week, we can all speculate as to why their gallery is so much bigger, why we don't see those kinds of galleries in the U.S. Could we get to those kind of galleries? Do we want them? Do our courses allow for it? Do our facilities and our grounds and our amenities? I think about, I love Vibram Open, for instance. That's one example of a private piece of property that's almost solely disc golf, especially for that weekend, hosting this massive event. 3,500 people would crush that place.
Yeah.
I mean, it would crush it. You wouldn't be able to fit everybody through all the places that they need to go. I think about hole 7's fairway, hole 4's fairway. I mean, you're simply not fitting more than a couple dozen people on that. But some of our courses, may or may not even allow for that kind of size if we did have them. And at that point, I mean, we talk about distractions in a gallery, and hopefully they're there and they're respectful and they're watching golf, but 3,500 people, that's
a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
You need a large environment.
So, interesting to see that. It's great. We can't say enough really about the culture and the hard work and the dedication that ambassadors and promoters and true movers and shakers like UC have done in that space, figuratively and literally, but in that space, the things that he's done, those are the fruits of his labor, is seeing 3,500 people on site. That's not an accident. That didn't just happen overnight. So is it, can we duplicate it? I don't know. Would it be best for us? I don't know. I don't know where 3,500 people would go at a lot of our tournaments. I really don't. I mean,
a lot of people said, oh, maybe USDGC can get that.
Maybe.
But again, where would 3,400 people? You'd have to line, hole 5 would be cool lined up. Hole 18 is cool when it's all lined up, but that's only a couple hundred people.
Yeah, you go from hole. You're right. You go from hole 5 on the lakeside, and then literally, and maybe even a little bit on 6, but by the bamboo hole and by 8. I think 8, which you cross the little path, and 8's
and when you have that many people, you clearly can't put them all in one hole. You almost have to start treating it, I'm sure we all hope, like a golf tournament where people get there, they sit, they find their assigned spot, and then they hang out there until the players all go through. And if you're lucky, maybe you can move to a different area on the course, because I think along hole 5, and then you go along, was it 10 through maybe 14 or 15, all along the road.
Sure.
You could line people up there. And then the 888 hole, there's really not a good place for people other than behind the tee pad, because everyone goes, you're going to want to go over the grass. And and then after that, it's, the hole 16, you could line the fairway a little bit.
But 17, there's no room for people on 17.
17, no, you just have to stand behind. And then 18, you would line the fairway.
And right now, with a couple hundred people, that's packed.
Exactly. We're already doing that. I'm saying you'd have to have, those people couldn't move. Once you get to your position, and if we ever got to that position, they'd start charging to get people. You would be paying for those seats depending on where you want, because 18 is going to be a prime real estate. They'd line that with chairs. You would be paying $20, $50, $100 a head to sit down and mark your spot, similar to what they do at the U.S. Open, where people get there, people have the VIP areas, or you have to get there at 6 a.m., claim your spot, and then not move and just chill. So it would be a great problem to have, let's put it that way. And I hope in 5 years we do see something like that. I don't think we're going to see a gallery in the U.S. of 3,400 people in the next 3 years.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's regionally more than likely.
Well, and if so, again, the venue and or that area has to support even that idea. And I only feel like there's a few areas right now where there's enough of a draw where it could support that idea out there. So We'll have to see if that happens. Speaking of tournaments, another cool thing that was announced today, I know I just mentioned the Ledgestone $10,000 Ace, also at Ledgestone taking place, and I'm going to have a little part in this, so I'm that much more excited.
Is this the charity doubles
Yes,
event?
the charity doubles, and I feel bad that we didn't get Dana's exact details for it, because I think there's a little more than what's just on the flyer, but there is a charity doubles.
Yep, they're switching out partners every hole. You can basically pay, and all the money goes to St. Jude charity.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay to be a doubles partner with one of those women.
Or men.
Oh, is it men too? I thought it was just women.
It has Paige Pierce.
I just saw Paige and Val. So
Val Jenkins, Nate Doss, and Ricky Wysocki.
Oh, wow, very cool. I didn't realize Ricky or Nate was in it. So so go for it.
Yeah,
and I'd love to know.
So what you basically are doing is buying a raffle ticket to then possibly get drawn to then play with them, and it says 1 for $5, 3 for $10, 10 for $25, and you get a raffle ticket to then potentially get drawn to then play with those people.
That's a really great idea.
It's an awesome idea, and all credit to Dana, who called me and he said, you know, I'm trying to just change it up, make it a little different. Last year we had the skins match with the women. That was a lot of fun, but I'm ready to kind of change things up a little bit, and this is what I don't think I had any input. I don't believe. I think he arrived at this, or his smarter wife, one of the two. And it looks like a lot of fun. So, and I'm going to be out there. I'm going to film it. So whether you helped or hurt the cause, it will be recorded for sure.
There for posterity.
It should be a lot of fun. So that will be taking place. That is Wednesday, August 2nd, out at Sunset Hills. And I believe it's Thursday, the very next day, is the opportunity to win $10,000 during an ace. And from what I heard, the aces would be split. I don't know if I just said that. If there's 5 of them, you'd each take home $2,000. Or if there's just one, you get it all. But you have that opportunity to do so out there. And that will also be recorded.
I think it
has to be.
We has to be for insurance purposes.
Sure.
We've seen that in the past with other events that have done hole-in-one competitions. Usually they need to get the insurance company to sign off. Traditionally what they've done is there's been like a camera. You need to turn around, show your disc to the camera, and then throw it in order. I don't know if this is going to be the case, but this particular one, but so they can see it's a PDGA legal disc, and so the insurance company can basically verify all of that.
Sure, and he's getting me some of those rules, and I'll have them all next week for you as to what that will entail. But he said some of that may or may not. You go out there and you might be able to throw a Discraft mini Jawbreaker Buzz into it or something. I don't know.
Hey.
Might be a few different options. So someone had asked if you want to go out and spectate. There's just some very basic rules of thumb no matter which tournament you go to, which is always going to start with, of course, making your cell phone is off, even the vibrate usually, but always making sure your cell phone is off. If you're using a video camera, or more specifically a DSLR camera of sorts, if you have permission to be there recording, just if it's going to make any clicking, same thing. Make sure that you're far enough away, or that you're using it when they're not throwing. That's very crucial. There were a few times at Am Worlds, and it wasn't any of the super good photographers, but a few of the other, I don't want to call them fringe photographers, but maybe some of your more hobbyists, I could hear the clicking of their camera as our players were lining up and just about to putt, and I was like, if I can hear that, and I'm deaf in one ear, these players can definitely hear it. So,
still.
Cameras, be still, and I say it all the time. You can be usually in their line of sight as long as you just win the game of statue. Just stand perfectly still. Sometimes. Plenty of times there's people right behind the basket. There can be a huge gallery of people. Just be perfectly still, and at the last second, don't tip your head up to look, or tip your head down to look away, or whatever position you're standing in or sitting in or squatting in. Just stay perfectly still when they're throwing, and then just obviously stay behind them or stay out of their way when they're trying to get places. Sometimes our galleries get big enough where you actually kind of get lost in a sea of people, and they want to get to their they want to get there, they want to get their shot set up, and they want to throw without distraction. So just give them a little breathing room to do all those things. So, and as it says, as we say on the board, if you're out there in any kind of formal or official capacity, if you have something better than your smartphone that you plan to do work with, make sure you have permission. You know, this wasn't a concern as much 5 years ago, but it certainly is today. If you're, you know, you might be a hobbyist, but if you're going to show up there with a $1,200 camera and you're going to be, you know, doing some stuff with it, get permission. It's always best. Ask for permission rather than forgiveness or get in trouble later. So, and more often than not, you're going to be good to go. But you wanna get permission.
Let's give something away now.
Yeah, especially when it's not even ours to give away. Even better.
So we, like Terry explained a little earlier, you can be eligible for this by going to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. For as little as $1 a month, you can feed 2 sick and poor children. That's us.
That's us.
Yeah, we're not like those kids on TV. And no, just for real, help. We appreciate all the support we get. There's obviously different reward levels depending on what you do and do not give. And different levels that we hit, we will perform different things. It'll be fun.
Could be.
Yeah, well,
depending on what we're performing.
Yeah. All right, so we have 154 this week.
Is that an increase by 1 or 2?
It's down by 1, actually.
Really? Yeah. Someone backed out.
They
don't like you.
That's okay. It's not sorted in any particular order, so.
Okay.
I'm going to go to random.org.
As you do that, Cool One asks, is it distracting for other players when a huge gallery walks with the lead card?
Yeah.
It's certainly, well...
It's frustrating.
Generically speaking, just at face value, no. But when that lead card then holds up other galleries and walks around when the gallery then walks... and disregards that other play is going on, yes, that's when it becomes frustrating. In general, if they said, oh, there's going to be a gallery following lead card, everyone's like, oh, cool, that's great, no problem. It's when that gallery inadvertently, usually, is disrespectful or unaware of their surroundings from a different card.
Yeah,
that's
usually
the
we
problem.
see that mostly on a shotgun start. You know, everyone's following hole 1 card, the lead card, and hole 18 card now has to deal with a gallery as they come through every single hole waiting for people to file out. So, but it can, depending on how your course flows, you can see that where courses get crisscrossed. You might be distracting someone 3 holes from now, depending on how the flow of the course goes. All right, so the true random number generator has a minimum of 1, maximum of 154. I'm going to hit generate here. We get number 25.
25, quarter of a century.
25 is...
2 dimes and a nickel.
Our good friend and Smashy, Tony.
Tony
Boho.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
And Tony is a significant contributor. He has worked a camera for us, so
yeah,
he's done more than most, you know. But no, Tony is a phenomenal individual. He's helped with some web-based stuff. He's helped with video stuff. He's helped us by running commercials on our program, and he's just an all-around great guy. If you have web needs or computer needs, Tony, you're getting a plug out of this.
Nice.
Reach out, Sail On Enterprises, or get in touch with me, and I'll get you in touch with Tony. Just an all-around awesome human and individual, and wants to support us in every possible way, and we appreciate his support. So it's awesome that he's randomly won a disc here. So,
yes.
But if you do have computer and or web needs, and you want to support those who support us, which is a big
not just
thing.
us,
yes, but disc
golf in
golfers.
general. Tony's the guy.
Tony's the guy. Why go to the Geek Squad when you can go to Tony?
That's right.
Is how I would
so
say
yeah.
that.
So Tony, you win the this is in it, the white Prime Warden with the Disc Golf Nerd first run stamp on it, I believe. I have that, see the little sticker in the back, the first run. So congratulations, Tony. We appreciate all your support.
Thank you very much, Tony. Tony, out of Oklahoma, spends a little time in Wisconsin from time to time, and it can work with anyone anywhere. So awesome to see that. All right, catching back up on the board real quickly. I hate seeing the media pass photographers that sit about 10 feet in front of the pad. I'll say this, and this could be said of our players and our media. Hopefully, if you're sitting in what could be a dangerous or precarious spot, hopefully you know what you're doing, and B, at that point, the player should once and only once have to politely then ask you if you're truly distracting to the player. The player, and most of them are really good at this, the player will say, hey, on this tee shot or on this putt or in that one angle, please don't stand there, whether it's for their safety or for a distraction or whatever. Our players are really good at that. They don't want to be distracted. And again, hopefully we're all working as and with professionals, so it shouldn't be a problem. But I don't care. Look at both Jomez and Central Coast, who are frequently getting reaction shots right now. They're sometimes, what by many people's standards, very close to that tee pad, and there's a familiarity there, and our players know those guys, and a trust that's there. They trust that these guys aren't going to distract them, and those guys are trusted to know what they're doing. So some of that's earned as well. Now, if you take, I would be a little more nervous if there was some guy I've never seen before in my life, hanging out in a certain photo area or squatted in a video position. I would be a little bit more nervous if I've never seen that person. But when I see someone I know from Jomez or Central Coast or someone we've worked with, I'm less nervous. But that's a trust that's there. And hopefully we do everything to not break any of it by anyone's account. I was thinking about going to Ledgestone, Skip says, on the final day, but can't find anyone to go down there with yet. Plentyoffish.com. It's just one idea. Tinder, those are all options. Terry is a distracting. We already talked about that. Terry and Johnny V, were y'all at Worlds? Dixon mentioned that it wasn't a World Championship this year. Do you think the PDGA dropped the ball? Maybe USDGC and Worlds switched spots. Jared, I'm just going to say, unfortunately, you're a few weeks behind. Yep. And rightfully so. Maybe you've been busy. I think you're normally here. We were at Worlds, and
well, we were there. We weren't live, as we know, as we've discussed. The cell signal just wasn't cooperating. It wasn't cooperative with us. We knew that going in. I did listen to Dixon's podcast, and he said this just.
Well, there's your first mistake.
It's all right.
Just kidding.
And he said Dixon basically said it didn't feel like Worlds because it was only 4 rounds. There wasn't enough media coverage. I think he had one other reason as well, and it's all stuff that we've gone over, and it might just be something that we're gonna have to learn to deal with. If it's only 4 rounds, I think it'll be, self-serving. It's gonna be better when we have live coverage. I think that'll make it feel a little bit more prestigious. I mean, look at what the European Open did. A lot of people are saying, well, is the European Open the event now? Is it bigger than Worlds? And it feels that way because of the gallery. The course is phenomenal. And they don't have live coverage, but they choose not to. They've got Avery doing Facebook Live for, usually he'll sometimes do it for a tee off early, and then he'll pick back up usually like hole 15. So it's hard to get totally invested in that live coverage for me, but it's a nice highlight. Like, oh, cool, we're going to catch up and we're going to watch the last couple holes. And it seems like the European Open always has a really good battle because that course really lends to it.
Okay. Zach Pajek, I'm going to try and rifle through a bunch of the questions I'm seeing on the board. Zach asks, with the Patreon discs, that's only for people with $3 or over per episode? Incorrect. If you are a Patreon supporter at $3, which means, and you could cap it. Some people do that. We don't encourage it. But if you cap it, you're still eligible. So... Yep. Yes, that would make you eligible, and the discs are in queue of printing.
Oh,
so
that's further along than they were last time.
Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Cool, Seth. I'm pretty sure will be at the New World in Jacksonville.
Every Patreon disc comes with a follicle of Robert McCall's hair.
Yes,
in the stamp. You have to look real close.
they were put in the molding process. How about Worlds when the chase card had 3 times the gallery of the lead card, especially in round 3? That's going to happen based on, I don't want to say fanboyism, but that's based on fans. I mean, that it is what it is. If you have, to be totally blunt and fair, if you had, we'll say 4 non-household names, just for an example, and I'm not saying that's what it was, but if there are 4 relative local unknowns that all found themselves on the lead card, And Paul Macbeth and Simon Lizotte and your Eagle McMahons and your Ricky Wysocki's and all of our superstars are scattered on other cards. That's where the gallery's going to be. And it is what it is. I don't see any good or bad to that. I don't think it matters. People want to watch who they want to watch. Because because what you could do is you could go watch these 4 guys on the lead card, and then Macbeth is going to be Macbeth-like, or Ricky's going to be Ricky, and they're going to shoot a scorching 16 under and go from third card to tied for the lead. And you could say, I just sat here and watched the lead card, when really maybe that was the time when one of these other guys were going to go do what they do, and hence people want to watch that. So I don't begrudge anyone for doing that. Zach said he's always at the end of the list. It's never going to pop at 154. That's incorrect, Zach, because we do a random smattering of sorting every week. We do a slightly different sort or non-sort.
Sometimes
first name, last name, email address, you name it. There's a ton of different random sorts, and then we hit a random generator. So there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to anyone that ever gets drawn. In any way, shape, or form. It is completely random.
A lot of times I'll sort by first name, sometimes I'll sort by last name, but this particular week I literally sorted. I didn't sort. I just imported it and removed some of the silly lines that talk about the rewards, and I left them in that particular order.
And then goes out to random.org.
So actually it was sorted. I take it back. So that means it was sorted by...
chronologically by how you signed up?
No, it was sorted by your donation level.
Oh,
from high to low. So it just so happened that,
completely random.
25th this week was that.
How about Worlds when USDGC becoming Worlds, like Dixon said, horrifies me. I don't know that. I don't think that'll be the case, flat out. Especially when we move into Vermont next year, which will be at a slightly different time of year. It'll go from the earliest to the latest ever. There's nothing saying that's not going to feel like the Worlds. So, I once had Nico LaCastro get mad at me about taking a picture get mad at me about a picture the other on card laughed. Drew, I'll say this. It depends. I mean, if you took a picture that truly distracted him, then I could see him being upset. If you just took a random picture of something that didn't distract him, then yeah, that seems silly. At that point he's in a public, but you may have caught him in a moment of frustration or something, and where the last thing you want to be is photographed. And I think that's generically speaking.
I'd be curious to know why Nico wasn't playing the European Open. He was over in Europe. I saw his Snapchat. He was over there with some of the other guys, but he did not play the European Open. So I'm not sure if he just didn't sign up in time or just chose not to play it, just wanted to go over to Europe and have fun. I don't know.
Yeah, that I don't know. Disc Golf Nerd says, have Tony hit me up on Facebook. We'll do that.
I already have an email sent out to Tony and to you, DGN.
Perfect.
So, thank you.
Oh, I thought he meant for computer support and help.
Oh, if that's the case, yeah.
That would be good too. That support those who support us. Dad's drunk. Looks like he's going to be doing some help with UDisc. We appreciate all helpers. If you ever want to score an event, you can do so with UDisc. If you're going specifically to a Pro Tour stop, we could always use more scoring volunteers. It's a great way to see the best golf firsthand, right in front of you, and you're helping out UDisc and the Pro Tour and Smashbox all at once simultaneously by doing the live scoring. So we appreciate anyone that wants to do that. Ronald Harkey says, I walked beside Nico at USDGC last year on the way to hole 17 and listened to him cuss out his disc. Okay. Sounds like could be frustrating moment. But yet Nico's in another country, so there's no issues with him leaving. Jarrett says it does, but Worlds needs to be at the end of the year. It being over so soon, especially not having live killed it, you do it at a place where you don't even test it beforehand. No, we tested beforehand and we knew it couldn't be there. So that's a incorrect statement. And we can argue all day long about where Worlds belongs. You know what? I'm sick and tired of the European Open being in the middle of summer. It's just, I feel like that should be in November. I mean, it's somewhat arbitrary. Mm-hmm.
What would you say if
What if we move the Memorial? Just a forever long-standing event in February and March, and it got moved to November. It is what it is.
Yeah, what would he do?
For Worlds, it's not a series of events that need to be played to get into it. It's based on last year's performance, and therefore it's not like a playoffs or a series in that sense, a dwindling of any kind. So when it is doesn't truly matter. If you said to me, all right, the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale is held in January, okay, that I would think is crazy because that's, of course, based on a series of events. But even if it was based on the previous year's events, I'd still be okay with it because it's just an event on a date. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you said the Disc Golf Pro Tour 2017 finale is actually January in 2017, but it's based on how you finalized yourself throughout 2016, I'm okay with it. So the Super Bowl does that. Like, that's totally fine if it switches over years. But, again, that's because it's a series and it ends with a playoffs, and then there's a logical sense to it. But having any other event on any other given weekend does not effing matter. It just doesn't.
Kind of related, and I think I've asked you this before. How would you
Doesn't matter.
How would you feel if the PDGA said, we're going to change up our majors every year? USDGC, you're not a major this year. Maybe you can be a major next year, but this year there's going to be no USDGC major. Instead, we're going to have the PDGA championships.
Which they did one year.
Yeah, exactly. And
2011.
And run it somewhere else.
Sure.
You have any issue with that?
What's the difference? Dare I say, what's the difference between that and what they do with the national tour schedule right
Correct.
now?
No, I agree.
There's a few staples on the national tour.
Do you think there'd be a big backlash at not having USDGC as a major?
In this USDGC specifically?
Yeah, specifically USDGC.
Yes.
I mean, because
there would be
we've seen the Japan Open flip-flop back and forth different years. It used to flip with the European Open.
Yep.
But now the Japan Open, I don't know what the
is in limbo.
It's in limbo or what the plan is. The European Open seems to be almost every year now. But what would the backlash be if the PDGA said, no? I mean, people are still going to go to the USDGC. It's still going to be a high quality caliber event, but they just decide that they're going to have, like I said, the PDGA championships presented by SmashBoxx in Mobile. Is there an issue?
No.
Okay.
And dare I go back and say, look what we just talked about a few moments ago about the rule changes specifically at USDGC. Stroke and distance one year, and then we'll say not the next. And then they changed up a half dozen holes. They put a rock on hole 1 along with a couple Mandos. They changed the bamboo hole. They changed 888. They changed the hole or two before that frequently. They make changes year in and year out. So it's not even like it's an exact carbon copy year after year anyway. So if it's not an event that year and it rotates with another quality event the following year, I'm okay with that. That's how the player championship was in fact born a number of years ago. The one that Ricky Wysocki won, 2010 or 11, was the first year that the USDGC, by their own account, said one year, we're not going to have a pro major.
Yeah.
We're going to run the performance edition. Thank you. We're going to run the performance edition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was some backlash to it, of course, that it wasn't happening, but that was self-induced, so to speak, by Innova. They said, "Hey, we're not going to run a normal tournament. We're going to run the performance edition of this event." I feel like they can call the shots if they want. They're running it.
Of course they can.
And I think the PDGA, on the flip side of that, isn't beholden to them either. It makes sense that they're a major event, figuratively and by title. But I mean, the PDGA is the governing body, and if PDGA one year said, you know what, this isn't a major and this is, I'm okay with that. I mean, look at our majors in golf. And I know we can't always compare. How many of them rotate? All but one?
In golf?
No, two.
Two.
2 of them rotate and 2 of them stay the same?
I believe so.
Masters and the British Open?
No,
Doesn't that even switch?
The British Open rotates.
Does it?
Yeah, maybe.
So is the Masters? And you guys have to educate me because I truly don't know. But do not... What? Well, the Googles will tell us how many majors in golf go to different courses.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. All right. So Jarrett, like I said, I think we've answered what you were asking, but yeah, I had a conversation with Sean Sinclair. I'll throw him under the bus.
Nice.
As the amateur worlds were concluding this year, literally the awards were just getting started. We started talking about next year's pro worlds. And I said, is the discussion on the table about more rounds? And that's kind of where I led with. And then there was some conversation back and forth. And he said that he fielded exactly 0 emails, and that's not the only form of communication on the planet. Mm-hmm. He fielded exactly 0 emails from professional players at Worlds that said they didn't like the format. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because somebody would have to take the initiative to have it cross the competition committee's desk and or get to him. I get that.
And we've talked to a couple golfers, and Paige particularly said she didn't love the 4-round tournament.
Sure, she wanted a little more.
She wanted a little bit more.
But my point being, at the PDGA level, he said he had fielded exactly 0 people that had reached out, and he's one of the resources you'd reach out to if you're serious about the topic. He fielded 0 complaints regarding the format.
Well, if any of our pros are listening, we know some of them do, and you didn't like it, make your voice heard officially. Don't just put it on Facebook. Don't just complain to your friend and hope that it gets back to the PDGA. Reach out to them. Do
something about it.
Reach out to them either privately to the PDGA.
Ideally.
I meant privately as in on like Facebook privately.
Sure.
Or in an official capacity, send a letter, an email to the board, whomever. Just let it be known. Because if your voice isn't heard, you have no way to complain.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and that's what else. I think we can wrap up on the whole Worlds conversation. I think we've talked about it actually quite a bit. All right, out on the board, Ronald Harkey states 3 of the 4 majors rotate in golf. And again, I'm not one of those diehards that say golf exists, we should follow literally every single thing that they do. I'm not suggesting that either, but sometimes it's nice to at least look to them as a reference. Mm-hmm. And in this case, but then again, I'd contradict myself by saying, well, golf also exclusively has 4-round majors, and I'm not necessarily sold that World should be 4 rounds. So, but that is interesting. Cool One says, Terry Miller, idea for future podcasts. Everyone who donates $5 via Super Chat that night gets in a drawing for the grip bag at the end of the podcast. Win-win. Yeah, that's a win-win until there's 4 people that donate $20 and I give away a $200 or $300 grip bag. So you keep putting out ideas, I'll keep poking holes in them. Actually, it would be kind of a funny or a great little side game, and I don't know if $5 is the right thing, but it would be kind of fun in an after show. Maybe we do some kind of informal raffle, live raffle. That might be actually kind of fun. Get a couple prizes here. Anyone that donates, via Super Chat, so it's a separate thing. We could then have like a little live raffle. That'd be kind of fun.
Disc Golf Nerd says, whatever happened to the podcast-a-thon? It just kind of fizzled.
Yeah,
honestly, between schedules and things like that, we just never got a chance. It's an idea that I wouldn't mind at some point reapproaching, but right now there's just really not. And it kind of also happened to the fact that the PDGA and not that we couldn't do it for another charity, and St. Jude didn't really have a connection this year, so to speak, as tightly as they had in the past. And we could do it for Ledgestone.
Sure. There's no reason why.
Or we could do it for a different charity.
Sure.
Autism, Down syndrome. You could do it for Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. We could do it for anything, to be honest. And I think it's something we will do in the future. Just don't know when.
Yeah, it's definitely a missed opportunity, though. We should certainly get it done, and we should certainly do it for charity. It's just a matter of making it happen.
And I do think it should be in the off season as well, because we'd have better access to our pros to chime in for a half hour.
Yes, for some random times and whatnot. And Jarrett, again, yep, you're definitely behind because you had asked what did I think of the stadium experience. I'll just quickly say I gushed about it last week because I loved it. It was an awesome opportunity. I think anyone and everyone that has a chance to go to one, whether it's a DD one that they've now put on successfully for a few years, or the one that will take place over at Dodger Stadium in November, I think the concept is cool and it's fun. I had a great time. I won a basket, and I met a lot of cool people. And I'm going to be posting a Robert McCall ace, and probably the next day or so. We're letting Am Worlds play out, and then we'll have a Robert McCall ace release.
That's good.
And his hair is in the video, in case you were wondering. Off-season podcast, super chat raffle, 3-minute podcast update was great. Your voice was really quite seasoned and professional. You had asked for opinions on it. There it is. Seti had said. It's funny because when I listened to it, I forgot who I was talking to, but I said,
"This did you listen to this one or the last one?"
I listened to them both.
I'll say this. I listened to them both as well, clearly. I thought the first one was better than this one because when I listened to this one, I felt that I popped a few P's and I emphasized a word here or there that if I re-recorded it, I probably wouldn't. But because I didn't screw up the recording, I didn't want to go back and re-record it because it's like I might end up messing up something else or this or that. And a lot of that is in post-editing. Like you can easily take out breaths. You can add a little silence here and there just to make things push a little bit better.
Yeah. All right. The grip bag will sit in Terry's storage as long. Oh, that's a super chat coming in. Will sit in as long as it's on his laptop forever. I'm working on my laptop cover sponsor. I want to peel this off. I'm now at that point where I want to because it's actually kind of disgusting.
Can I rip it off right now?
No.
God, you said you
this will be a
to.
thing. I want to do it, but it has to be a thing.
Christian Carrion says, I'm predicting Terry and Johnny will soon be part of DD. You read it here first. A Smashbox exclusive.
Wow.
And I said, not likely.
No.
I love DD, but I also like Discraft, and I like Innova, and we're not a
Legacy. Anyone that wants to work with us.
Yeah, anyone that wants to work with us. We don't want. Specifically, we have said we don't want to tie ourselves down. I've already got a ring. I don't need to. Wait, I already got two. No. Just because it opens up more avenues if we are not associated directly with a particular manufacturer. It would close doors for us if suddenly we were a DD sponsored event and for whatever reason USDGC reached out to us. It makes things more difficult for us. We're happy to work with everybody. We like so many different people in this sport. We just can't tie ourselves down like that. It doesn't make financial or
not even just financial. It's just business.
It doesn't make business sense. That's what I was going for. Not just financial sense. It doesn't make business sense. So
yeah.
But
we do love them though. Kyle Barker has done a super chat. Kyle, thank you. We appreciate it. Kyle has made a donation to our super chat. And I said, is there anything you want? He just says, super baby. Yeah. He says, I love Innova, but Ricky is my favorite player. All right. Dad's Drunk says, I'm the one who started the Rip Terry's plastic laptop off that night. Well, a lot of people have been asking for it. Actually, the day I got it, literally the day I got it in May last year, it showed up in Santa Cruz, California. I started editing. I started putting it together, or getting all the pieces out. And my co-cameraman editor buddy was like, "Here, let's peel this off." And he went to peel on it. And I was like, "No, don't touch it." And that was the day it got out of the box. So it's been there ever since.
Are we doing nightly podcasts for Ledgestone?
That is not necessarily planned.
Okay.
Something may or may not come up, but that's not necessarily on the agenda at the moment. Once I figure out maybe some details in regards to lodging and or a few other details, you might see a nightly recap from me for a little while, but currently not the plan. All right. Seth says, or better yet, how much can we get if I take the plastic off Terry's computer? No, don't touch it.
Throw some cash at him.
Favorite pros, male or female? I'm going to use the very stock and generic answer of I love any and all pros that graciously work with us. And there's some that work better with us than others. There's some that I feel like will go out of their way to give us their time and or commitment, and it's impossible not to love them because this is a give and take. We're small potatoes, disc golf small potatoes, they're small potatoes, but maybe big fish in a little pond. And when they work with us, I think their brand and their image and their output grows, and clearly we grow and benefit from it as well. So I will call it a cop-out, but I will generically say anyone that works with us usually is on the top of my list of people that I like the most. Hope that makes sense. Anybody know if Ledgestone Tea Time scheduled or posted? Trying to figure out how early I'd have to drive there on Saturday to watch the women. I assume they're planning early for the video recording. You're exactly right, Zach. Both Saturday and Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The women will probably have the exact same flow that we've had at the other Pro Tour stops, which is they're going to tee off a little bit earlier in the day. I'm guessing in the 9-ish time frame, give or take an hour. They'll probably be teeing off in the 9-ish time frame. That will give us time to take the footage, have Steve Dodge rip it down into smaller shots so that it can then be shown in our live production. And then most days I think we're going to go live around that 2 to 3-ish time frame, give or take. Don't hold me to it, but 3 p.m. Central is usually a pretty good estimate. So I hope that helps you.
Christian qualified it, not necessarily our favorite player, but our favorite player to watch. To watch play, maybe. For me, it's really a toss-up between Simon and Paul. Simon, just because you never quite know what he's going to do. Like, there's always the chance he's going to take a ridiculous shot, and he's fun to watch throw in general. And for FPO, I'm going to give it a solid Paige Pierce to watch play, just because I think she has the most perfect form of all the women. It's really fun to watch her throw a disc, and she's always upbeat. It's kind of like watching like Val. It's a pleasure to watch them. But for me, right now, I have to go with Paige just because she is. I mean, she's our best female player out there, and watching her play, and I think in my head like there should be more people watching her play. That's all I keep thinking, and because she's so good. So for me, those are the ones I enjoy watching play. Also, Lisa Fakis. I like watching her putt.
Yeah,
her putt is so fun to watch.
Yeah,
I like watching Lisa Fakis's putt more than Paige's, because I mean, Paige scares me when she putts, just because I think there's that spot. I think she gets nervous from 15 to 25 feet. That I think even she would. Maybe she'll admit. Maybe she won't. That I get a little scared. When she's outside that, when she's 40 or 50 feet away, I like watching her just run at these big jump putts. And I think when she's inside of 15 feet, I'm pretty confident Paige is almost always going to hit them. But to me, I've seen Paige miss a few of those that I think it's still in the back of my head, like, ugh. Whereas with Lisa, it's fun to watch her jump putt.
Yeah.
And she's just got such a pure, straight at it, fun throw.
Greg out on the board says, with reference to players to watch, he says, off the tee, Paige, approaching, Paul, I'm assuming Macbeth, scramble and putting, Ricky.
Yeah, scrambling Ricky.
And spectacle, Simon. So that sounds like a pretty good overall assessment. Kyle Barker says that, when I play with my 10-year-old son, he says, after I miss a putt, would Ricky make that putt? The answer is always yes, almost all of the time. Yes, that's true. Simon, so expressive while playing and talented. That is correct. McGeisky says, love watching Ricky putt and Paige work the fairways.
Yeah, Simon wears his heart on his sleeve, as we say.
Yes,
Like when he's doing
very
well,
animated.
When he's doing well, he's cheery and laughing.
Jovial and
when he's not, you can tell after he's still cheery and animated in between shots, but you can tell that his body language he sags a little bit in the shoulders, and you can watch how disappointed he is in himself. So,
Cool One says, I like watching Jennifer Allen a lot. She definitely can crush, and
she's mean. She's mean. She hates that disc. That's what Jennifer Allen. When I think of Jennifer Allen throwing, I think you don't like that piece of plastic in your hand with the force that you throw that.
Greg also says, also Doss and Valerie on the approach. I wonder if they practice together. Yeah, when they play rounds, it's almost always together off the course, or I'm sorry, outside of the tournament. That's what I'm trying to spit out. Terry, have you taken Allison out for any more rounds since her first turn? I haven't. We were just talking about it today. It's been gorgeous here in Wisconsin, so we may even find ourselves out on the course in the next day or two. Yeah, but unfortunately I haven't. Katrina seems like a good putter. Is that what that said? Sorry, I scrolled.
Yeah, and
she is a phenomenal putter.
Phenomenal putter.
Paige can almost beat 3/4 of the men. That is absolutely true. Simon's contribution, planned or not, to disc golf's popularity will be highly regarded and recognized. Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, if there was one person who somewhat know golf, not just, even if you don't, yeah, if there was one person and you said, I can only watch one person play golf for the rest of the year, and there was some kind of contest on that poll, Simon would win that poll.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. He's just very entertaining and very skilled and talented and funny and jovial and has a great spirit out there.
That's a good question. What celebrity would you want to see playing and promoting the sport? If you could pick any celebrity from any walk of life, is there one particular that maybe you would think would get disc golf a lot of coverage?
Britney Spears. J-Lo.
There you go, J-Lo. Like, where it would be a big deal, like,
The
oh my God,
Biebs?
did you check out XYZ? Or just someone you think would be good for the sport. I don't necessarily think the Biebs would be.
I don't know these days.
I mean, I think.
I don't know what kind of following he has these days.
Exactly. Carly Rae Jepsen.
That's a great question in terms of, I mean, to me, you would want to go with someone who has the kid appeal, the teenager appeal, because if you want them to be influential to those teens, if we're talking about growing the sport in terms of getting kids playing, and some very popular kid idol came out, and maybe it doesn't have to be a kid, but someone who is just synonymous with appealing to that demographic, I think that's who you'd want. Go ahead with your first take.
This is a slight cop-out, just a slight. I want to see a foursome or a fivesome, the Stranger Things kids. Because right now they are so hot. They have such a young and old following, and they're the type of kids that you see on TV, and when they go do other things, they seem like they truly enjoy each other's company, like they're really friends.
Okay.
And I think right now they would have a very good outlook, and I think a good popularity. So I think if you could see like, oh, look at the Stranger Kids doing a round of disc golf together, I think that would be pretty cool.
I don't know better, so I'm going to go with that. Sure. I was going to say, are they the Ross and Rachel and whatnot from 25 years ago, the Friends? Like, I mean, are they of that cult-like?
Close.
Not cult-like following, but I mean, are they of that social pop culture, kind of establishment, that are just clearly older? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or dare I rewind to like what the cast from Party of Five from all those years ago? Yeah, I know, which is a pretty good callback considering I didn't watch it ever.
That's a deep cut. Kids, ask your parents. Party of Five.
Yeah, I mean,
the cast of Dynasty will be.
As long as we can get Magnum PI out there somewhere too, we need him. We need him. Or the Seavers. We need Growing Pains. Mike Seaver.
R.I.P. Alan Thicke. Too soon.
Yes, exactly. So, those would, I would say anyone that is, just, and maybe you nailed it. Maybe that group. I know nothing about that group, but by your explanation, those seem like they would be the ideal people right now. If you're going after that slightly younger demographic, let's say you're going after, and maybe we're outdated, the 25 to 40 demographic. Then who's your pick?
Oh, 25 to 40. I mean, would you go with like maybe it's even too old, like a Clooney?
I was gonna say and I'll steal it, a Timberlake or a Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, that'd be a good one if Jimmy Fallon was like, hey, we're gonna do disc golf, and
I mean,
Fallon would be a good one.
Assuming he's into it and takes it serious enough that he's promoting it. Yeah, obviously, I think of your influencers, and I think he would be as good as any, talented and all that stuff. So.
Oh, Andrew Zimmern is hosting a tournament here this fall. I believe he's in Minnesota. He spotted our courses frequently in Minnesota. So
yes, and there again, I feel like that's another it's awesome that he's involved, and that I think he's now on the ambassador team or the celebrity team of Innova, and he talks about disc golf and he posts about it and all that other stuff, and I think all of that's awesome.
He's definitely a follower.
Oh yeah, he does, because he was complaining at one of the events that didn't have coverage posted quick enough.
Oh yeah,
I think I pointed that out to you. He made a comment like, where I forget, I don't know if it was Masters Cup, it was some event. I think, because I distinctly recall it was an Innova-based event, which I thought was funny because he was kind of.
Yep.
Anyway, he had made some comment though as to where's the final round coverage. I think it was Masters Cup, and he was growing impatient because he wanted to watch it. So I think he would be another great person, but I think he's the next demographic. If we just said 25 to 40, I think he's that 40 plus. If you wanted a. And maybe not, though, because he's got a totally different following.
Yeah, and yes, Christian Carey, you are on fire with your questions.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, this is what the after show's about.
I think we need to hire. I think Smashbox needs to hire me for conversation starters. You could just come here and do my job. I'd be good with that. I could take a few weeks off. Conan. Yep, Conan. I don't.
We tried Conan. There's a few names on here. SD Disker, he said Adam Sandler, and welcome to 15 years ago.
Yeah, Adam Sandler's not the influencer he is today.
He hasn't put out a good movie in years. He's got this Netflix contract. He's not the influence or pull that he once had. James Corden, he'd be all right. Conan O'Brien, again, like
I think those personally, I think I've gone on record before. I think Fallon is the top tier of late night, I believe, in terms of network.
Right now, if you want to go straight ratings, it's really a toss-up between him and Colbert.
Okay, so and again, if we're going with straight appeal, I think Fallon's the guy.
I agree.
And then he's already besties or good friends with Justin Timberlake, and I think Justin Timberlake would be a phenomenal. Justin Timberlake, I saw a little video of him and Steph Curry giving each other a hard time. At a golf outing. So knowing that the athleticism and sports and whatnot, I think that's where Justin Timberlake would be a good fit.
Ronald Harkey says Adam Sandler put out a good movie with a question mark. Yes, he has a couple good ones. I mean, Spanglish was pretty decent. Billy Madison's a classic. I mean,
Happy Gilmore,
of course.
Jim. This is just personally. I'm not. I think Fallon is better than. I was going to say him earlier.
Yeah.
And I thought I only didn't say him. Excuse me, because I wondered if he was past his prime.
I don't think so. I think he's still kind of at that peak. I don't think he's got much longer there. But right now, The Rock he's one of the highest paid actors in the industry. So I think he would be a good one if you saw, like, National Enquirer follows Dwayne Johnson throwing whatever.
Throwing frisbees. Chris Pratt, he seems like he'd be a great...
That's what Dad's Drunk. That's what I was trying to think of. Punch Drunk Love. That's a phenomenal movie.
Yes, it was. Chris Pratt, I think, would be good as well. The cast of Jersey Shore. No, I think you're again 10 years too late on that. Otherwise, that would have been 10 years ago when they were in their prime. Maybe even then, I'm not sure I wanted them representing us as a whole.
Someone said The Mountain, which is a character from Game of Thrones, and he does play. Actually, there's pictures of him over in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Playing. Dude's just, I mean, he's a mountain. He's a big, strong dude. He used to compete in those World's Strongest Men competitions.
Wow.
And he's just a beast.
McGeisky says Jack Black. For some reason, Jack Black, I'm wondering if there was ever a tie to a disc golf reference with him. I don't recall. Ice Cube, Kevin Hart. Yeah, they would, that would be funny.
That would be
Adam Sandler. Okay. So, yeah. Good solid question as to whom. What if, last one would be specifically and officially just a sports figure, a current sports figure, if they, I don't want to say converted, but if they were to then pick it up and it was a big deal, who would the sports figure be that you'd want?
What I would want, he already plays, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
I mean, you could go him or right now Tom Brady. I think those are your two biggest names in the NFL right now. They're not the biggest jersey sellers right now. I think that's Ezekiel Elliott.
Sure.
The Cowboys running back. But I think if you could have, if I could have one round with one athlete, it would be Rodgers. I mean, for a lot of different reasons. A, I'm a Packer fan. B, I think he's a great face for the sport of football, and I think he'd be a fun round to be with.
I could, again, I'm not nearly the NFL aficionado that Johnny V is, but Dad's drunk. I would go with you 100% on J.J. Watt. And it's funny,
J.J. Watt would be fun.
J.J. Watt, who grew up just minutes from where I live, actually, he and his family, who are still based in not too far from here, somebody referenced him the other day about him and his family in this area and houses and whatnot. And he went to the same school district that my kid is in right now. My youngins are in. And I was explaining him to someone who didn't know his name at all. And I said, he comes across as one of the hardest working, but yet fun loving guys.
He's a weirdo
on anywhere. Like he's got his superstitions, right, and all that kind of stuff.
Read about him. I mean, he takes his stuff super seriously, but
yes.
They were saying that was it after his rookie or his second season, he literally showed up to his friend's house with just a mattress and said, "I'm living here for the summer."
Okay.
And just he's
an odd duckling.
He's a very odd duckling. Like, he's very set. They were saying how his house didn't have any furniture in it. He hired like a personal assistant to basically furnish his house, and he's just so focused on football that he just doesn't. He's a little bit of an odd duck, but from what it looks like, he is getting more gigs and he's coming out of the woodwork a little more.
But when you see the pieces they do on him in terms of his generosity and his outreach and then his work ethic, that's what I've always seen when he's portrayed. And I think that all of those, I think, would be awesome if that was obviously somehow then shifted into having a disc golf. Otherwise, yeah, I agree. Also, like a Steph Curry would be, assuming all Aaron Rodgers aside, a Steph Curry also then comes to mind for me personally.
Yeah, if you want to go baseball, you're right. Aaron Judge right now is the name. He's the Yankee hitter who's like 6'7" and just solid. He looks like a baseball player, even though he played all sorts of sports and he crushed the home run derby. Every ball that he tapped, I think, went out of the stadium, and it's just, he would be the name in baseball right now that you would probably pick.
All right.
So
or Mark McGwire.
Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, exactly. Would Sammy Sosa use would he use blizzard plastic, kind of like a corked bat?
A corked bat.
All right. I don't have too much. I'm going to check my notes. I think I've gone over everything. The ratings release, some of the comments out there, Dana's event, $10,000 ace. You may or may not see me. There is a speculation about maybe, possibly, sorta, me filming the final round of the Des Moines Challenge A-Tier this weekend. In negotiations and talks about possibly getting over there. I had a great time in the Quad Cities, of course, at Worlds this last week, and I have some obligations, but if I could possibly film anything, it may be the final round at the Des Moines Challenge in Iowa this weekend. So maybe some of you will be there. I know we have a lot of people from the Midwest that listen, so I may just randomly appear on the lead card with a camera, of course.
There's a lot of talk
Sunday afternoon.
There's a lot of talk about Barsby socks.
I don't know what the story is.
He wears crazy socks. He's a crazy dresser.
He may or may not be sponsored by said sock company.
I
think he is.
Is it? Okay.
I think there's a sock. I think there's a tie, because I think I remember him reaching out to me about it months ago, and giving me like some very high level
in general
info.
I tend to overlook a lot of the weird quirks about Barsby. He's a great player, and he draws. Usually for better, he draws attention to himself in other ways. I mean, we saw it at the Memorial a couple of years ago when he walked up with a big pimp hat and a cloak, and it just like
he's a showman.
He's a showman, and it's fun
and an entertainer,
and entertainer, and I like it. I can't say, I don't want to say like I'm over it because it's still funny. It's not news anymore to me. It's like, okay, Barsby doing something silly, everyone will get a chuckle out of it, and then we move on. And that's kind of how I feel. But I've also seen him play for 10, 12 years, so that's on me personally.
So yeah, I don't know the relevance. Sock said skepticism. I'm not even going to venture to guess where this is tied to, religious or political or personal or branding or all or none of the above.
He feels that
I didn't see a minute of the video, so I can't even speak to them.
He thinks we're all living in a simulation. Just kidding. I don't know. I just made that up. Whereas we're one big computer simulation.
Yeah.
He's skeptical of aliens.
Barsby convinced a bartender at Worlds last year that he was a rec player. 'Twas pretty funny. Yeah, I could certainly see that. Is there candlepin or duckpin bowling in Wisconsin? The answer is no. We do not. I think we're one of the bowling capital of the world practically.
We used to be. We used to have the bowling congress here, and it's moved away.
Correct.
We don't have that. We've got a couple different things like over at
mini
Cos's.
bowling.
We've got mini bowling, which is kind of similar. It's not duck pin. They're just mini bowling balls and mini bowling pins, and you do have someone behind there, stacking them all up super quick at a couple of the local establishments here in town. We've done that before. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but we do not have the candle pin like I look so forward to going to every year after the Vibram on Sunday night. That's become a thing.
Did I talk about the great article I read about the candle pin, like the best candle pin bowler, how he's been like blackballed? It's really I'd have to dig it up, but more or less how his dad was a great, and then the guy didn't even really like playing, and he's got like a super bad attitude. Like he basically hates the world. He hates every other candlepin bowler, and he's gotten into like all these big fights and arguments, and eventually they just more or less banned him, and he thinks they banned him because he's too good.
I think I have read this article now.
It's ridiculous how he thinks that
he's like the Kenny Powers of bowling,
more or less, of candlepin bowling specifically, because he looks down on the regular bowlers, or big ball bowling, whatever you want to call it. And it's such a funny and strange article to go through and read. Ralph Sem, is that his name? Someone's bringing up.
Not sure, but that definitely funny to go out and check out some candlepin bowling action and details if you're not familiar with it. Duck pin, candlepin, a couple variations there, but not in Wisconsin. Surprisingly, not. We do not have it. Because when I went to it for the first time after the Vibram event, I was like, "This is awesome," and I was just so shocked that we didn't have it. So, and we'll have Barsby on Smashbox. He's been on before, and I'm sure he'll be on again. And I'm sure. Not that the only way you get here is by winning, but when you are winning, it makes it that much more obvious to have you. And if he keeps up with his ways, it'll be all but inevitable. So, any new podcasts out there to check out?
Not new ones. I forgot to mention something. The Phileas Club. Excuse me, Phileas Club. It's by a guy named Patrick Beja out of. I think he's out of France. He basically brings in, it's one of my favorites, talks about world events, and truly like world events. He brings in usually 2 or 3 guests from around the world. It's all in English, no worries. There's guests sometimes from the United States, sometimes from Turkey, sometimes from Saudi Arabia, from South Korea, and they just more or less talk about what's going on in their country. It tends to rotate. Sometimes they'll have a theme. Maybe they'll talk about a particular trade route or goofy things like that. It's a really interesting podcast, I think, and it comes out once every 2 or 3 weeks. So, what are you chuckling at, Terry Miller?
Earlier in the night, we talked about the gentleman that was worked up about railroads and buses stopping at them, and then 30 comments later, 40 comments later, someone just posted...
Oh, the trigger.
No, not the meme. Someone just posted and said, "What the F is the matter with you?" And it's just one line, and it just strikes me as so funny, because that is a perfect way to summarize that post of why stopping at trains.
Dad's Drunk says a lot of people, and a lot of people have actually recommended me S-Town. I should get on that. It's it's kind of like the quote unquote the follow up to what was the big one from NPR that I listened to? Serial.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a follow up to that. So
I was recommended a pod. I think maybe it was by them or not. Yeah, I think it was by Bobby Brown. And maybe stop me if I talked about it. The where's Richard Simmons podcast?
they have a whole podcast about that.
Oh yeah,
like I know there's a whole like conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Him.
Myself and Chad, our cameraman, when we were driving to Arkansas or somewhere on a long trip this year, maybe it was Glass Blown. When we had 8 or 9 hours in the car, we listened to the Where is Richard Simmons? I think it's a 6-part.
Oh, it's a 6-part series.
6-part series. If you even just know, you have to at least know Richard Simmons or something about him, but you don't need any details. You just need to know who he is. And if you know who he is and you want, a start and a finish podcast, six episodes. I don't know if they were 45 minutes or an hour each or a half hour each, whatever it was. It was interesting. It was entertaining. I know that Bobby Brown, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, had listened to it at one point. I think that's where I got the recommendation, and it was entertaining. So I'll throw that one out there.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, Phileas Club is PHILEAS, Phileas Club. So
Phileas. I mean,
I have no clue.
Oh, okay.
But it's educational, good podcast in general.
Okay. I just didn't know what the word meant.
No, I don't know what it means either.
Oh,
honestly.
okay. Okay, good. Michael Hansen says, random question, do you have to get invited to M-Worlds, or is it who signs up first? What they've been doing is they send out a wave of invitations based on your previous year of play. So I'm just going to, these are random numbers I'm making up. I think this year, if you had like 750 amateur points, I think was a magic cutoff number, you were then sent in the first wave of invitations. You were sent an invitation to come compete. They give X amount of time for all of those people to sign up. If there's still any openings after that, they may then go to the people that had 600 points and then all the way down to 500 and so on and so forth. But it is not just first come, first serve. You have to be part of an initial wave of invited people, and then from there you may later get in off a waiting list or something of that nature. But that's how that typically works. That's been both pro and Am Worlds. I never asked him about the Iron Leaf thing. Think he's burnt out on the whole thing, but you'll laugh the entire time you're around him. He's hilarious. Yes, I'm burnt out on. I love Greg Barsby, and as Johnny just said, he's very entertaining. I've known him forever and played even some golf around and with him and watched him and everything. But yeah, sometimes it can be. I personally have heard enough of the Iron Leaf. I think it's hilarious, but it was hilarious like the first 2 times I saw it, and then it's like I think anyone else that gets inundated and asked over and over and over about one particular thing. I know he's over it. I was doing a quick interview with him at Vibram, like it must have been a year or 2 after the Iron Leaf, and I said something or other, and he mentioned something about it. I'm like, no, I was in no way going to reference that at all. It was already a year old or whatever. And he's like, okay, good. I was like, okay, good. We're on the same page. All right. Check out Homecoming. Everybody's talking about. It sounds like something worth watching. So I think we're going to call it. It's been a great night. We thank you guys for joining us. We thank our Patreon supporters. We thank our non-Patreon supporters. Just because you give us money just means we like you a little more than the rest.
But we love you all.
But we love you all.
It's kind of like your kids.
That's what matters.
You tell everyone you love them all equally. You really love one a little more.
I certainly do. I certainly do. Apparently that's a bad thing, but just keeping it real, as Bobby Brown would say. So for Johnny V and myself, this has been Podcast 153's After Show. We thank you guys for joining us. I'll have an after show for a few moments on Instagram Live. You can find me on the Disc Golf Guy. Johnny V will cut up the video and the audio, put it all together for you so you can enjoy it. And maybe I'll see a few of you in Iowa this weekend. If not, we'll talk to you Tuesday night just before the action goes down over at the Ledgestone, where we're live again for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We're looking forward to a very exciting week out there with $10,000 aces and exhibition skins matches and a huge Pro Tour event at Lake Eureka. Looking forward to that. So again, for Johnny and Terry, we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.